जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Once again, my sincere thanks to you, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu, for kindly hosting this 33rd session in our detailed discussion on Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart is certainly like a deep ocean, and we are trying to dive to the best of our capacity. There are unlimited meanings hidden within these 8 verses of Shri Shiksastakam, and the elaborations that we are doing do not actually do full justice to the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Still, we must try to do as much as our limited capacity allows. Therefore, with whatever limited capacity that is present within myself, I am trying to dive into this particular set of verses spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I really need the good wishes and the blessings of the Vaishnavas so that I can speak something which will be pleasing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thank you to each and every one of you once again. Welcome to the 33rd session of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. The screen has been shared with all of you, and we are beginning today's talk. Once again, the verse that was composed for this particular verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. Ekātmani vyavasthāyam tridehe vākchatushtaye panchatatve षडक्षेषु सप्तचक्रेषु मे तथा सदा विश्यतु गौरांग महाप्रभुमुखोद्गतं रम्यं शिक्षाष्टकं येन धन्यः स्याम भूरि भूरिशः. The meaning of this verse has been spoken many times, so I'll go directly to the next part. Every time we have a new verse regarding Bhagavan's Naam, the remembrance, the utterance of Bhagavan's Naam. This is a very nice verse from the Bhagavan Naam Mahatmya Sangraha. Phalam bhutasya punyasya vartamanasya sechanam tanoti chaishyato bijam tvadanusmaranam vibho. A devotee says to Bhagavan, Vibho. Vibho means Almighty Bhagavan. Oh Vibho, oh Almighty Bhagavan. Tvad anusmaranam. Tvad, your anusmaranam, repeated remembrance. So your repeated remembrance it has 3 factors attached to it. What are the 3 factors? Phalam bhutasya punyasya. Your repeated remembrance is actually the ripened fruit of past devotional piety. Without past devotional piety, it is not possible to constantly remember him. Vartamanasya sechanam. And it is the nurturing of present devotional piety. And tanoti chaishyato bijam. And it is the augmenter, the nourisher of future devotional piety. Bhagavan, your remembrance, your constant remembrance is all auspicious, whether in the past tense, whether in the present tense, or for the future. So this is a wonderful verse, dear devotees, because it is devotional piety that leads to further devotion. It is bhakti which leads to bhakti. So this verse is perfectly in line with Siddhanta, because it says that remembrance of Bhagavan, repeated remembrance, only happens due to past piety. It increases present piety as well as future piety. So, a wonderful verse. We are discussing the second verse. Nam namakari bahudha nija sarva shaktis tatrarpitani amitah smaranena kalah etādṛśī tava kṛpā bhagavan mamāpi durdaivam īdṛśam ihājani nānurāgaḥ. Here is the Anvay, Prabhu. Kindly read the Anvay.
O Bhagavan, in regards to your unlimited names, immense variety has been manifested by you. Moreover, all your personal potencies have been eternally invested in these names, and no specific time has been fixed for remembering them. Such is your causeless mercy. Yet my misfortune is such that no genuine attachment was developed by me in these names.
So we are continuing the discussion on the final part of this verse. Bhagavan, your mercy is unlimited because you have manifested these names. But my misfortune is such that no genuine attachment was developed by me in these names. A very simple question arises here, and here's the translation of the same, which is the same as the Anvay. A very simple question arises here. If Bhagavan's Naam would not be present, if bhakti in the form of uttering Bhagavan's Naam would not be present for us today, what other methods would we use to attain the highest result? And if we think about it, there are many other methods described in Shastra, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, but all of them appear to be lifeless without Bhakti Yoga. And therefore, Bhakti Yoga is the only method which gives complete perfection to the existence of a living entity. And that Bhakti Yoga too is made easiest in this age by Naam Sankirtan. And therefore, it is very important to understand that this Naam Sankirtan should specifically be utilized for one and only one purpose, and that purpose is attainment of Krishna Prem. We don't have much time in our lives in this age of Kali Yuga, and to try and fulfill material desires or other desires using Harinam is really a waste of time, more or less. Therefore, dear devotees, it is very important to understand that the attainment of Krishna Prem is actually the sole purpose for which Shri Harinam should be utilized. And there are those who do the exact opposite. And the seventh Nam Aparad is in front of us. Namno baladyasya hi papa buddhir na vidyate tasya yamairhi shuddhihi. Namno balad yasya hi papa buddhir. Yasya, for someone who has papa buddhi, who even has an inclination to commit pap, forbidden acts. Not the actual committing, even the inclination to commit those acts on the strength of Nam. Na vidyate, there is no purification. Yamair Shuddhi, there is no purification through multiple yamas. In the term Yamai, there is plural case. So Yamai means through multiple yamas. One meaning of yama is disciplinary principles of Ashtanga Yoga, Yama Niyama. Or another meaning of yama is Yamaraj. Through multiple disciplines given by multiple Yamaraj, such a person cannot be purified. It's very important to understand that the verse here says Papa Buddhi. Even if one develops an inclination to commit pap or a sinful activity, that itself starts becoming an aparadh towards Nam if, and very importantly, if the inclination to commit pap is done on the strength of utterance of Harinam. That starts becoming a Nam aparadh. What to speak of actually committing pap on the strength of Nam? Even the inclination to commit pap is an aparadh. What to speak of actually committing pap on the strength of Nam? The inclination itself is problematic. For example, if somebody wants to steal, It's not that they just go and start stealing directly. The inclination to steal arises in the mind first, and then a person later works upon that inclination. So the root of the problem is the mental inclination that arises. And the verse targets exactly that particular mental inclination. Because without a mental inclination, one will not commit sins on the strength of Harinam. So the mental inclinations are the root of committing sinful activities. Now, Sri Jiva Goswami further expands the scope of this Nam Aparadh. Because somebody may say, well, okay, I will not commit pap. Pap means activities mentioned as forbidden in the Vedas, sinful activities. I will not commit pap on the strength of Harinam, but I can commit pap on the strength of other devotional activities. How about that? That I have heard there are 64 limbs of bhakti. One of them is dancing in front of the deity of the Lord. And I have heard that it is promised that one who dances in front of the deity of the Lord and claps their hand, their sinful reactions go away. So how about this? I will not utilize Nam for cleansing my sins. I will instead utilize my dancing and clapping of hands to cleanse away my sins, and I can use them as a license. So Srila Jiva Goswami says that the aparat does not only apply in relation to utterance of Nam, the aparad applies to all limbs of bhakti. Sri Jiva Goswami says in Bhakti Sandarbha, Anuched 172, Hari Bhakti Balena Pitat Pravrittav Aparadha Apataccha. Hari Bhakti Balena, not only on the strength of Hari Nam, but also on the strength of Hari Bhakti, any act of Hari Bhakti. So one should know that this offense applies not only when committing pap on the strength of Harinam, but also on committing such pap on the strength of any limb of bhakti. Now it is clear to us that we cannot escape this particular aparad by switching from Harinam to other limbs of bhakti. Otherwise, I would have given you a very simple and easy method and told you, all right, if there is any tendency to commit pap, instead of using Harinam to eradicate it, just use other limbs of bhakti such as dancing and clapping in front of Bhagavan, and you can get rid of your newly committed pap, and you have a license to commit as many pap as you want. So then we could have found such a solution, but this is not how bhakti is supposed to be utilized. So bhakti should not become a means to further implicate ourselves in the material world. The reason why we accepted bhakti was for coming out of the clutches of the material world. And if instead of coming out of the clutches of the world, if we start utilizing bhakti for further engrossing ourselves in the world, especially by committing pap, then that is directly cheating the very original purpose of bhakti. And therefore, we need to dive deeper into this particular aparadh. Sri Jiva Goswami explains further in Bhakti Sandarbha, and he gives a very important, very, very important understanding. All of us should hear this very carefully. He says, Yadyapi bhaven namno balenapi kritasya papasya tena namna kshaya. Yadyapi, he says, I agree, although it's true that by the strength of Nam, eradication of previously committed sins takes place. Nobody will disagree with this. Nobody disagrees with this. Eradication of previously committed sins takes place by strength of Nam. Tathapi, still, he says, Yena namno balena. That Nam which can give you the strength to achieve Parama Purushartha, the highest Purushartha, the highest goal. Swarupam Satchidananda Sandram Sakshat Shri Bhagavad Charanarvindam, the direct Such Chidanand, the lotus feet of Bhagavan, can be attained by utterance of this Harinam. And sadhayitum pravrittas, if you are engaged in attaining Bhagavan's lotus feet by utilizing this Nam, and tenaiva, and by that same Nam, if we do grinaspadam papa vishayam sadhayati, if we attain most deplorable objects of sin, then this is parama dauratmyam. This is a manifestation of the highest variety of wickedness. And dear devotees, whom is he speaking about? Is he speaking about those individuals who feel weak in certain parts of their lives and who have some negative desires, who are not able to control their negative desires? Is he speaking about such people? The answer is no. He is not speaking about such people. He is speaking about those people who are dushta chitta, who are wicked at heart. And they know very well that they have taken to this path of bhakti because they want some selfish material enjoyment in exchange for their bhakti. They want Bhagavan to pardon their sins so that life in the material world can continue as usual, and so that material enjoyment, even sinful enjoyment, can continue unabated. If bhakti can give me such a facility, no, why not? And maybe I am a big singer of kirtan, and at the same time, I have a bad habit. The bad habit may be that I am addicted to smoking drugs or cigarettes. And I am not remorseful about it. I'm no longer remorseful about it now. Long gone are the days when I used to be remorseful about it. Now I am shameless. Now it's okay. And see, if I am doing so much, I'm speaking so much and doing so much kirtan around the world. Of course, Bhagavan has to take care of a little bit of smoking drugs, isn't it? Huh? And if Bhagavan's bhakti cannot take care of this much, then fie upon such bhakti, and I don't want to have to do anything up with such bhakti. I hope you are able to understand. This is the wicked mindset of such a person. This is the person that Shri Jiva Goswami is speaking about. I'll give another example. And let's say there are two people married to each other, and one of them is not faithful to the other person. Now, let's say the person who's not faithful to their spouse, they get caught once, and they truly are remorseful and regretful, and the spouse says, "All right, I forgive you. All right, but don't repeat this again." But the other person, instead of being truly remorseful, is actually a wicked person who is using this opportunity simply to again break the trust of the other person. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, forgiveness can be given once if there is genuine remorse. But if there is wickedness of heart and the only intent to seek forgiveness is so that one can again engage in the same act, what should happen to such a person? Please tell me.
You can't trust them anymore.
You can't trust them anymore. And because the same is the condition with Shri Harinam. Shri Harinam also has invested some trust in the sadhakas. Bhagavan has invested some trust in the sadhakas. When Bhagavan sees that a sadhak is repeatedly breaking his trust, and how are they breaking his trust? Instead of being sincere sadhaka, sincere means truthful to themselves. These people are not even truthful to their own selves. They are not truthful to their own selves. They are somehow fooling themselves that I will attain the highest benefit on the path of bhakti, despite being such a cheater on this path. This delusion is being carried within their minds. And I will have my material enjoyment, and Bhagavan is so merciful. Bhagavan is obliged to give me perfection. So this wickedness is present in the hearts of such people. And for this reason, Sri Jiva Goswami says, Parama Dauratmya. This is the highest variety of wickedness. See, there is wickedness in worldly relationships, but that wickedness lasts for a lifetime. After death, that wickedness ends. But this is wickedness in relationship to an eternal relation with Bhagavan. So this wickedness is in regards to an eternal relationship with Bhagavan. And even in that relationship, we are manifesting the highest variety of wickedness. What can be said about such a person? So that person who is weak-hearted is different. That person who is wicked is different. So we are treating both these people separately. Right now, we are in this aparadh, we are dealing with the person who is wicked at heart and who is making a license out of this Bhagavan's bhakti to commit sinful activities. And you will see some of them. You'll see that secretly they are executing many negative activities, but they have a plan. At the age of 50, I will stop. And then I will go and take a bath in the Ganga and chant 64 rounds of Harinam every day. There are people who have such plans. And you will see some of them around you. Paramadauratmyam, highest variety of wickedness is present in such cases. Sri Jiva Goswami, of course, I remember there was one Hindi small poetry somebody sent. He says, पूजा भी करता हूँ, जाप भी करता हूँ, कहीं देवता ना बन जाऊं इसलिए पाप भी करता हूँ. So I'll translate in English that I do puja and I do japa. I am afraid I'll become too divine. So after puja and jap, I do pap. So this is the wickedness of such a person. So, and this is the attitude of many people. They don't want to become so divine so soon. Let divinity come at its own sweet time later. Right now is not the time. Sri Jiva Goswami says, what happens to such a person? How does Nam treat such a person? Dāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, have such people treated Nam with respect or disrespect?
Disrespect.
Disrespect. So Nam also treats them in a similar manner. Tataha kadarthayati eva tam tan namacha. Thus Nam certainly gives much trouble to such a person who wickedly uses it for washing his sins. And tat papa koti mahattamasya aparadhasya apato badhameva. It is also befitting that such a person faces millions of the severest types of those very sins that he was trying to wash using Harinam. Imagine you were trying to wash a particular sin using Harinam and in a very wicked mood of continuing your material enjoyment, and Harinam instead multiplied that multiple times and you got a very severe negative reaction. Sri Jiva Goswami says, Badhameva, very befitting, wonderful, bravo, Harinam, you did well. Such a person deserves it. Such a person deserves it. In Hindi, there is a proverb. कि लातों के भूत बातों से नहीं मानते. Those who understand the language of kicks don't understand the language of logic and reasoning. This is an unfortunate fact for many individuals. There are some people who will not understand the language of reasoning. They will not understand the language of bhakti. They will understand the language of suffering. So Bhadameva, it is very nice that Bhagavan's Naam will give them unlimited misery. It's very nice. That very Naam which they were using for cleansing their sins, let that Naam multiply their sins. And what happens after their sins are multiplied? Tato yamair bahubhir yamaniyamadivi krita prayaschitasya. And such a person cannot get purified by atonement, such as many yamas, rules and regulations of Ashtanga Yoga. They cannot follow. And अनेकैरपि प्राप्ताधिकारै दंडधरैर्वा कृतदंडस्य तस्य शुद्धिय भावो. Such a person cannot get purified over many lives, even when punished by many Yamarajas, because their sinful activities have multiplied so much. It's difficult for them to find a way out. Suffering is the only way such people will understand. Dāmeśvara Mahaprabhu, tell me, how does a wicked person get reformed finally?
Punishment.
Punishment. Even there is no other way for a person to get reformed. And we were discussing last time that even the state punishes criminals, and you had said, Dāmeśvara Mahaprabhu, for deterrence. This person has no sense of deterrence because they're wicked at heart. In order to establish deterrence, it is important that Nam does something. And therefore, Nam multiplies the negativities of such a person in such a way that this person then faces misery after misery after misery. And only after facing miseries does a person wake up to reality and understand that I have been abusing Hari now. So this is what happens. Because I want to ask a very simple question, and Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu, please tell me, if I have a tendency to commit pap, and by committing that pap, I feel happy in my heart because I have this tendency, to commit this pap, but I want Harinam to remove the results of the pap, not the tendency of the pap, to remove the results of the pap. If Harinam agrees to remove the results of the pap, but not the tendency of the pap, am I getting true benefit from Harinam? Please tell me.
No.
No. And if it is so easy to remove the reactions of the pap, because when I have committed negative activities, I have caused immense suffering to so many other living entities. Do you think it is justified that those other living entities suffered because of me, and I simply removed the result by chanting Harinam? Is it justified?
No, it's the opposite.
It's
It's
the
an
opposite.
injustice.
Yeah, it's the injustice to so many living entities whom I have given immense suffering in previous lives and in the current life. And for me to say, Bhagavan, don't give me negative results because I'm your devotee, and Bhagavan may agree for once, all right, whatever was in the past was in the past. Henceforth, do not use bhakti to commit sinful activities. But I wickedly use bhakti to commit sinful activities. Then Bhagavan says, all right, multiplication of your pap is necessary at this point of time to establish deterrence. Sri Jiva Goswami then continues and says, नामापराधयुक्तानाम इति आदि वाक्य वक्ष्यमाणानुसारेण पुनरअपि सतत नाम कीर्तन मात्रस्य तत्र प्रायश्चित्तत्वात्. Such a person has only one atonement remaining. Multiple Yamarajas will not be able to purify. The reason is because only Nam can take away the aparadhs caused unto itself. Yamaraj will not take away those aparadhs. There is a very famous verse which Sri Jiva Goswami quotes. Bhumau skhalita padanam bhumir evavalambanam. If you slip and fall on the ground is your shelter. Similarly, if you commit an aparadh against Nam, Nam is your shelter. Somebody else will not become your shelter. So if you slip and fall on the ground is your shelter. If you commit an aparadh against Nam, Nam will be your shelter. Only Nam can take away. And that utterance of Nam after suffering so much will truly be, Trinadapi suni chena tarorapi sahishnuna. Because that person has learned through so many sufferings now that I should not have abused Harinam. Now, dear devotees, also he says there is another verse, Sarvaparadha kridapi. Because there are some people who will say, no, I am a devotee, Nam must forgive me. How can Nam be not so merciful? Nam must forgive me. Jiva Goswami says there are verses in Shastra which says that even if you are a devotee, you will face negative reaction if you cheat Harinam. And which verse is that? He says, Sarvaparadha Kridapi. Here are those verses from the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Sarvaparadha Kridapi Muchyate Hari Samshrayat. A person who commits all other types of sins besides Namaprad can be freed from them by taking full shelter of Hari. But if a person ends up committing an aparat towards Hari, that person is certainly the lowest amongst two-legged animals. Hari protected you from all the sins, but you ended up committing an aparad against Hari. There is nobody who can save you, except Harinam can save you even against aparads of Hari. It may be possible. Namashraya kadachit syat. It may be possible somehow that lowly human beings end up taking shelter of Nam and get freed from aparat towards Hari by the potency of Hari Nam. But what to say of that person who ends up committing an aparat towards that all merciful Hari Nam? There is no destination for such a person. So all the negative reactions of the world, Bhagavan can protect. But if you commit an aparat towards Bhagavan, then Shastra critiques you. Alright, even if you committed an aparat towards Bhagavan, Bhagavan's Naam can save you. But if we commit an aparat towards Bhagavan's Naam, then who will save us? It means we are repeat offenders. This is the sum and substance of the verse. Even if we are devotees, we should not think that now there is unlimited forgiveness on this path, even if we are wicked. No. For the wicked, forgiveness does not exist on this path. For the simple-hearted, there is forgiveness. For the wicked, there is no forgiveness. Just like Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, you agreed to this fact that in a married relationship, for the innocent-hearted but weak-hearted, there may be forgiveness. But in a married relationship, for a wicked person, is there any scope of forgiveness?
No.
No. There is no scope of forgiveness. And I mean, you have greater experience of dealing with the issues in the world in this regard than me. So, Dāmeśvara Mahaprabhu, if there is anything that you can do to a wicked person, to forgive a wicked person who will again break your trust, is there anything you can suggest from your experience?
About how to trust a wicked person?
Yeah.
I remember the verse that you quoted in the previous series, that Kshamate Nityam Bahu Dosha Savandati. Something like that. You remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
One who always forgives.
Yeah. One who always forgives attains many faults. Yotata kshamate nityam bahudosham savindati. I think it was in the Upadeshamritam series.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. All right. So you agree, even your experience in dealing with so many people in the world outside says that wicked people cannot be trusted.
Yeah, a lot of times we want the results, but we don't want to do the work to get there.
Right.
Or we want to do something we shouldn't, but then we don't want to get the negative results of that.
Right.
And when someone has that mentality, there's nothing you can do. You just go in circles and never get anywhere.
Right. So, Prabhu, the way in which Harinam treats such a person, is it justified or not?
Absolutely. Yes.
It is absolutely justified. Now, there are some people who quote another incident. They quote the incident of Indra, because there is a incident in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam where Indra, he offended his spiritual master Brihaspati, and Brihaspati disappeared and the demons took over the heavenly planets. Then all the devatas, all the gods went to the shelter of Bhagavan, and Bhagavan told them to approach. They went to the shelter of Sri Brahma first, and Sri Brahma told them to approach Vishwarup and learned Brahmana. And Sri Vishwarup, he gave them the Narayan Kavach. Narayan Kavach is utterance of Bhagavan's names, and by that Narayan Kavach, they were able to defeat all the demons and regain their kingdom. Now, after defeating all the demons, Indra found out that his priest, Vishwarup, was also secretly offering some oblations to the demons, to the asuras. So he chopped off the heads of Vishwarup. And Vishwarup's father, Tvashta, got so angry that Tvashta produced a big demon in the form of Vritrasur. And Vritrasur actually was about to kill Indra, but on the request of the sages, they all went to Bhagavan Narayan. Bhagavan Narayan told them, go to the sage Dadhichi, and the sage Dadhichi will give his own bones, and you can make a weapon out of it and kill Vritrasur. So Indra used that instruction of Bhagavan Narayan. He prayed to Bhagavan Narayan and he killed Vritrasur. Now people quote this incident as saying, see, on the instructions of Bhagavan, Indra is committing the sinful activity of killing Vritrasur. Vritrasur was a Brahmana, of course. So Indra killed a Brahmana after getting instructions from Bhagavan Narayan. So what about Indra's case? Isn't it? Isn't it Nam Aparadh? So Sri Jiva Goswami says, Tata Indrasya Ashwamedhakhya Bhagavad Yajana Balena Vritrahatya. He says the incident of Indra praying to Bhagavan Narayan, getting the Dhichi's bones to make a weapon and kill Vritrasur was desired by the sages for two purposes. First is calming down the calamity that had befallen on the universe in the form of Vritrasur, the demon, and destroying the demoniac nature that had overtaken Vritrasur. Bhagavan wanted Vritrasur to come back to him as soon as possible. So this incident should not be considered as an instance of Nam Aparadh because Bhagavan himself had ordered this. In our case, Bhagavan himself is not ordering us to commit negative activities. So Sri Jiva Goswami also chalks out this incident so that this incident cannot be misused for committing the seventh Nam Aparadh. Now, after having heard this entire explanation from Sri Jiva Goswami, we have to understand a very simple fact and we have to ask ourselves, what is more important in our lives? To get rid of the tendency to commit pap on the strength of Nam, or to get rid of the tendency to commit pap altogether? Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, what is more important for us?
To get rid of the tendency to commit papa altogether.
Yes, that is most important because this is the fine line of demarcation which will decide whether our heart is wicked or not. Do we have even the slight inclination to get rid of our tendency to commit pap? Or are we so hopelessly attached to our pap that we are thinking that in this life, at least I'm not going to give it up? We have taken it as a compulsory requirement for living our life. If even the tendency to get rid of pap is not there, then there is no hope for us. But if we have an inclination, no, there will be a day when I wish to be free of the tendency to commit pap altogether, and I wish for it to happen as soon as possible. I wish to become sincere. If the tendency to become sincere, the inclination to become sincere is there, then there is hope for us. And the acharyas will come and help us immensely. Dear devotees, they will help us immensely if we have the correct inclination. And having known this, dear devotees, the acharyas say, first understand what is pap. Now we'll get to the root of it, dear devotees. Let's understand what is pap. What is the meaning of pap? And how is it that pap appears for some of us, committing negative activities appears to be very sweet in the beginning, but how it results in a very poisonous, painful end result. If we understand this, we will naturally go away from the tendency to commit pap. And once we go away from the tendency to commit pap, we will not commit it on the strength of Harinam or any limb of bhakti. We will have gotten rid of this Namaprath. Let's understand pap first. What is the meaning of the term pap? At the very root of it, the verbal root of the term pap is pa. Pa, pane, says Panini, to consume, to drink. And there is a suffix, pani vishipya pa. The suffix pa is added using Unadi Sutra. So pa is the verbal root, pa is the suffix. And in neuter gender, the term becomes papam. The term is neuter in gender, papam. What is the meaning of the term? From the verbal root pa, pibati bhakshayati kartaram iti papam. They consume the person who commits them. Therefore, the verbal root is pa, pane, to consume. Since they consume the person who commits them, therefore they are known as pa, pa, the consumers of the individuals who commit them. That is the meaning of the term pap. So I'm getting to the very root, grammatical root of the term. The consumers of their committers. That is what pap are, dear devotees. Now, there is another definition given in the Puranas. Narakagnishu ghoreshu patanat papamuchyate. Activities that cause fall down, patan, of a human into the terrible suffering of hellfires are known as pap. Now, every pap, every sinful activity may not cause fall down into hellfire. But in the third canto, Kapil Muni says, even in this world when people are suffering, they feel as if they are in hell. They feel the pangs of suffering that they will experience on hellish planets. And you can ask people who are suffering from war, who are suffering from poverty, who are suffering from failed relationships. You can ask them how life feels, and they will tell you life feels like hell. Narak agnishu ghoreshu. It's as if the suffering of hellfire is constant in my life. You ask them, they will tell you. So that these papas, they cause a person to fall into such suffering. Therefore, they are known as papa, the consumer of the person who commits them. Dear devotees, it's very important. Now, how many types of papa are there? In the Mahabharata, Bhagavan Shiva explains to Parvati Devi. There's a very nice section where he explains, Tayor yad dushkritam karma taccha sanjayate tridha. Pap arises in three ways. Manasa, karmana, vacha, through the mind, through one's deeds, and through one's speech. But ultimately, all pap arises due to delusion of intelligence. Because of misunderstanding the truth. All pap arises because of this. But pap is mainly of three types. Manasa, pap committed through the mind. Karmana, pap committed through one's deeds. And vacha, pap committed through one's speech. Dear devotees, let us have a look at the major types of papa of all three categories. Through the mind, through the speech, and through the body, through activities. First, Bhagavan Shiva says, what are the types of papa which are committed through the mind? He says, Abhidroho bhyasuyacha parartheshu cha vaispriha dharma karye yatha ashraddha papa karmani harshanam evamadya shubham karma manasa papa muchyate. Thinking ill of others is a mental pap. Finding faults in the good qualities of others, abhyasuya, is another pap. Hankering for the possessions of others, faithlessness in acts of dharma, taking pleasure in thinking of physically committing some pap. These are all major paps committed through the mind. All of them are pap which are committed through the mind of a person. Then through the speech, anritam yaccha parusham abadha vachanam katu asatyam parivadascha papam etattu vangmayam. Speaking lies is the first pap committed through the speech. Speaking harshly, parusham. Abadha vachanam, speaking illogically to trick others. Katu, bitterness of words. Asatyam, giving false testimonies when somebody is depending upon our testimony, giving false testimonies at that point of time. Parivadascha, spreading rumors about others, etc. These are the major paps committed through one's words. Dear devotees. And what are the pap committed through one's body? So there is a good list. Agamya agamanam chaiva, engaging in sex with a person forbidden in Shastra. There are some individuals with whom one should never engage in such activities. For example, a sadhvi, a lady who has taken to renunciation. Dear devotees, this is one such lady. The king's wife is the second one. So there are many ladies mentioned in Shastra with whom one should never even think of such things. The guru's wife. So agamya agamanam chaiva. Engaging in sex with a person forbidden in Shastra. Paradara nishevanam. Engaging in sex with the spouse of others. We can't imagine the distress that is caused in marriages when we break a marriage apart by cheating with the spouse of a particular person. We can't imagine the distress that we cause the other person. Paradar Nishevanam. Vadha Bandha Parikleshai. Giving trouble to other animals or humans by killing them, binding them, or other forms of torture. Then Chauryam Paresham Dravyanam Haranam Nashanam Tatha. Stealing, snatching, or destroying the resources of others. Abhaksha Bhakshanam Chaiva. Eating forbidden food, eating meat, etc. Vyasaneshu Abhishangata. Very important. Addiction to intoxicants. Getting that happiness which one is not in one's karma, forcing happiness through intoxicants leads to negative results. Then darpat stambhavimanacha paresham upatapanam, troubling others out of haughtiness, rigidity, or false pride. Dear devotees, furthermore, carrying out activities forbidden in Shastra, drinking unclean or putrid liquids, losing character in the association of characterless people, helping others in executing pap, carrying out activities that are clearly listed as adharma in the Shastra, carrying out acts that cause loss of good reputation. All these and many acts are known as pap committed through one's deeds. Unfortunately, some of us take pleasure in some of these activities. It is unfortunate. Namno balad, and what to speak of that? Further, we use Nam as a shield to protect ourselves against the reactions of such pap. Namno balad yasya hi papa buddhihi na vidyate tasya yamayri shuddhi. Then there is no atonement even through multiple yamas. Dear devotees, now I will explain how this pap starts affecting us, because the aim is not to simply make one fearful of pap, how it affects us and how it takes over our life. Dear devotees, it is very important to understand. In the Yoga Sutras, Shri Patanjali Muni explains that every karma that we commit, it gets stored in the chitta, in the consciousness. Each and every one of us has a chitta, consciousness. Every karma that we commit, positive karma, leads to a positive samskar in the consciousness. Negative karma leads to a negative samskar in the consciousness. Mixed karma leads to a mixed samskar in the consciousness. Every karma, and this is only for the human being, because other species of life, they are not subject to the rule of creating new karma. Other species of life are simply exhausting old karma. So in the human species, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Karmanu bandhini manushya loke. New karma is obtained in manushya loke, in human species of life. So with every karma that we are committing, it is getting stored in the chitta, consciousness. Many karmas create a combined collection. And this combined collection is called karma ashay. Karma ashay is the shelter of many karmas. So this becomes the shelter of many karmas, is then present, is produced within the chitta, the consciousness. And because of this karmashay, this collection of positive or negative, for some people it is mainly positive, very little negative. For some people it is mainly negative, very little positive. Whatever it is, positive or negative, this collection is called karma ashay. So collection of karma. And this collection of karma also becomes known as bija, the seed. And this seed will fructify in some time, and it will lead you to have three results. What are the three results? Patanjali Muni says jati, the next birth, the species will be determined according to this bija, this karmashay, this collection of karma. Ayu, the duration of life. And bhoga, the happiness or distress that you will receive in your next life. These three will be decided according to karmashay. This is the reason why some people are born in families or in species which we consider to be abominable. This is the reason why some individuals are born with a short duration of life. Some people are born with a short duration of life even though they are not chain smokers. Some people are chain smokers yet live to the fullest duration of their life without repercussions. Why? Previous karmashay is supporting their ayu, their jati, and their bhoga, their happiness and distress. So, dear devotees, this is how every karma gets stored in the chitta consciousness. The reason why I am saying this is because we have to understand scientifically how our negative karma is going to affect us. And if we don't understand this, dear devotees, then only suffering can teach us. Therefore, it's very important that we understand scientifically how papa buddhi, how the tendency to commit negative activities affects us. The nama aparadhi, what is the thinking of a nama aparadhi, dear devotees? The nama aparadhi thinks like this: I want to commit forbidden karma, but I don't want the results of those karma. So you don't want the results of your karma, so you purify yourself by bhakti, purify the consciousness. No, I don't want to purify my consciousness so soon. No, I don't want to get rid of the tendency to perform forbidden karma. I will keep committing such karma and I'll use Harinam or I'll use bhakti to avoid negative results. Harinam is very merciful. And reforming the consciousness is not easily possible. Prabhu, it's a long process. It takes lifetimes. How can I give up so easily? I don't feel I should take it up so seriously. Prabhu, I don't, why should we be so serious on the path right now? I can't give up my pleasures. This is how a Namapradi thinks. Dear devotees. Now, in contrast, how does a sincere sadhaka think? A sincere sadhaka thinks, I don't want to commit forbidden karma, yet sometimes my lower nature overcomes me. This is a fact. Sometimes my lower nature overcomes me. I truly want to get rid of my negative tendencies and I wish I could get free today. I wish I could get free today and lead a life of purity. I cannot use Harinam for erasing my negative acts. The purpose of Harinam is to bestow prema. I won't try to make that Nam a servant of my desires. I'll not use that. But if you don't use Harinam, then negative karma will lead to negative result. What about that? I am prepared to suffer for my negative acts. But I have the decency of not using Harinam for eradicating my sins. I will not put the burden of my sins on Harinam. This is the thought process of a sincere sadhaka who is struggling from material desires, sometimes even unwholesome desires. So we understood the clear difference between a namaparadhi and somebody who is weak-hearted but sincere, who is not willing to put the burden of his pap on Harinam, even if it means I have to suffer in the future. I am willing to take suffering in the future, but I will not burden Harinam with my pap. So Bhagavan responds to the sincere sadhaka. Bhagavan will not say anything to the wicked person. Bhagavan neglects the wicked person. To the sincere sadhaka, Bhagavan will reply. What will Bhagavan say? Jata Shraddho Mat Kathasu. Wonderful. You are a devotee who has faith in my narrations. Wonderful. Nirvinnaha Sarva Karmasu. You are detached from karma. Actually, you are detached. You have some attachment. Actually, you are detached. But Ved Dukkhatmakan Kaman. You know that material desires are miserable in nature. But Parityage pi Anishwara. You are still unable to give up those desires. What should you do? Bhagavan says to such a devotee. Tato bhaje tamam prita. Still you should worship me with affection. Shraddhalu, remain faithful. Dridha Nishchay, remain firm in determination. Never become wicked. Never become wicked. Remain firm in your determination and have affection for me. And I understand, Jushamana Satan Kaman. Even while enjoying sense objects And Bhagavan says dukkha udarkams, which are actually sources of misery. Bhagavan here puts the seed of detachment. Your enjoyment of sense objects, actually, it is a heavy source of misery. You should definitely learn how to critique those objects of sense enjoyment. If you are sincere, you will learn how to see unhappiness in those objects of sense enjoyment. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, I'll ask a very simple question. When a person is enjoying a sense object, is it happiness or distress?
Happiness.
If I tell you it is distress, would you believe me?
It will become distress.
Okay, it will become, sure. But if at the present moment you learn to see it as distress, how about that?
That would be a lot more persuasive.
That will be persuasive. So let's try to see how material enjoyment is actually nothing but another form of distress. And I'll quote a story to begin with. This story is quoted in Shri Vyasadev's commentary to Yoga Sutra, 3rd chapter, 18th Sutra. There was a sage named Jaigishavya. Jaigishavya. And Jaigishavya was a very learned and detached sage. And one day he was sitting, and another sage, his name was Atavya, he came and he met Jaigishavya. And Atavya said to Jaigishavya, you have spent 10 days of 10 lifetimes of Brahma in the material universe, 10 lifetimes of Brahma, and you remember all the previous lives, Jaigishavya. I want to ask you a very simple question. You remember your previous lives, as many previous lives as equivalent to 10 lifetimes of Brahma. Jaigishavya, please tell me, you must have enjoyed happiness and distress, both in those lives. Please tell me what was greater, happiness or distress? Jaigishavya said, I have been meditating on this for a long time, and I will tell you my honest conclusion about this. In all the lives that I lived, sometimes I was a devata, a god. Sometimes I was a servant of the god. Sometimes I was an animal. Sometimes I was a bird. Sometimes I was a human. In all the lives that I lived, there was nothing but misery. There was nothing but misery that I attained in all those lives. This is the frank and honest reply that Jaigishavya, the sage, gave to the other sage. And this fact, each and every devotee should impress upon themselves. And Srila Prabhupada also made this statement that a devotee cannot progress unless they have a pessimistic attitude towards the material world. A person who has an optimistic attitude towards the material world may progress in the material world, no doubt. There is no doubt they may progress in the material world. But as far as getting out of the world is concerned, that will happen only if one is hopelessly pessimistic about the material world. And it is the job of the acharyas to make us hopelessly pessimistic about the world, dear devotees, because in this world, what we consider as enjoyment is actually nothing but suffering. Nothing but suffering. Bhagavan himself is saying, dukkha udarkams. They are actually sources of misery. And how do we understand this? Sri Patanjali Muni in the Yoga Sutra gives one sutra to explain all the suffering behind material enjoyments. Dear devotees, if required, memorize this sutra. If required, memorize this sutra and meditate upon it as much as possible. Meditate upon it and try to find faults with this sutra. Try to test your knowledge against the knowledge of Patanjali Muni. Indian systems of knowledge are open for criticism, examination. So, examine this knowledge that Muni Patanjali is giving. Patanjali Muni says, Parinam tapa samskara dukkhair gunavritti virodhacha dukkham eva sarvam vivekinaha. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, I will ask you translation of a simple phrase. Can you please try to translate simple? Dukkham eva sarvam. What do you think is the
It's
meaning
all
of that?
suffering.
It's all suffering. Vivekinaha. For the person of good discrimination, for the wise person, dukkham eva sarvam vivekinaha. And here is what is the translation. He says, he gives 4 reasons why everything in the world is suffering. Dear devotees, please hear very carefully why all so-called enjoyments that we have in this world are actually suffering. Due to, first and foremost, parinam dukkha, the misery of transformation. For example, we begin with some enjoyment. A man and a woman, which is usually considered to be the highest enjoyment in the world for most people. A man and a woman get together, they have good love towards each other, they fall in love, they fall head over heels towards each other. And the man says, I love you, and the lady says, I love you too. And he proposes, and the rings are exchanged, thousands of people are invited, and they have a grand wedding. And after 2 years, suddenly it is found out that the lady has cancer and she loses all her hair. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, Sukh or Dukh?
Duke.
Dukh, Parinam Dukh, misery of transformation. You cannot control this. You cannot control this. And you may say, oh, with 1 in 1,000 people, this may happen, cancer. But the remaining 999 will be happy. No. With the remaining 999, after a few years, the nature start changing. And after 10 years, often people end up saying to each other, you're not the person I married. Parinam dukkha, misery of transformation. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, in your experience of dealing with people, have you noticed, especially in relationships of marriage, does parinam dukh exist or not?
Yes, definitely.
Definitely it exists. And I consider you an expert in this field because you counsel many people. So you can put a challenge against Patanjali Muni's knowledge if you feel that he's speaking something which is not the truth. Parinam dukkha. Second, tapa dukkha, misery of afflictive experiences. While a person is enjoying, a person starts feeling that one day this enjoyment will go away. One day this will all not be there. And they become sad while they are enjoying. Dear devotees, tapa dukkha, another form of tapa dukkha. While a person is enjoying, they see another person who's enjoying more of the same to a greater degree. Then they feel, oh my goodness, why do I not have this? Tapa dukkha. For example, a lady may marry a beautiful man, or a man may marry a beautiful lady. And after some time, they see another person who's married to even more beautiful person. And sometimes they think, oh my goodness, this person is even more beautiful than my current spouse. Often people think like that. Tapa dukkha, misery of afflictive experiences. And third is samskara dukkha, the misery of creating new samskars. And I'm explaining this. With every enjoyment that we experience, the impression of that enjoyment remains in the heart. Do you agree, Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, every impression of enjoyment that is created in the heart for any enjoyment, every impression that is created, that same impression of enjoyment will hurt us later when that enjoyment is no longer available. This is called samskar dukkha. So with every enjoyment that we are experiencing, material enjoyment, we are creating a new samskar, and this samskar is going to give us pain later when that enjoyment will no longer be available for us. This is called samskar dukkha. So Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu, while I am enjoying right now, am I not planting the seeds for my future suffering?
You are.
Of course I am planting. So, and the fourth thing is guna vritti virod, contradictory nature of 3 modes. Happiness should be in the mode of goodness. But in the material world, the mode of goodness is always mixed with passion and ignorance. So I can't have pure happiness in the mode of goodness. Neither can I have happiness purely in the mode of passion. Neither can I have happiness purely in the mode of ignorance. Happiness has to be in the mode of mixed modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. All three have to work together. So, dear devotees, the acharyas explain, just in order to light a lamp, you need the lamp holder, you need oil, and you need a wick of cotton. And you need all three to be together. Only then will you be able to light the lamp. You can't light the lamp simply by using oil and wick. You also need a container. You can't light it simply using container and the wick. You also need oil. So similarly, you can't have anything in the world simply on the basis of sattva guna, or simply on the basis of rajoguna, or simply on the basis of tamoguna. So the pure unadulterated happiness that you are expecting will not be available in this world. Because of these reasons, all worldly sense objects are perceived as misery by the wise discriminating sadhaka. Now, dear devotees, if somebody understands this sutra properly, they will know what it is to have a pessimistic mindset towards the material world. What Srila Prabhupada often used to say, you should have a pessimistic mindset. And this is the exact pessimistic mindset that is being spoken of. For those who want to progress on the path of spiritual life, it is very important to have this pessimistic mindset towards material enjoyments. Because what we see right now as material enjoyments are nothing but suffering, not only in the present, definitely in the future, dear devotees. Not only in the present, but also in the future. Even right now, it is suffering because as we are enjoying, we are feeling some lack of enjoyment at the same time. So, this is how parinama, tapa, samskara, dukkhair, gunavritti virodhacha, dukkhameva sarvam. Everything is miserable for the viveki, for the wise, discriminating person. But for a person who is not wise and discriminating, they will never be able to come to this realization. The wicked person will ignore this advice of Yoga Sutra. The wicked person will plant seeds of distress for themselves in the future. And the wicked person will display the highest amount of wickedness by using Harinam to escape from negative reactions. And therefore, dear devotees, it's very important that we detach ourselves through proper means. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu compare understanding this with using Harinam to remove your negative reactions. What sounds like a more mature approach?
Using this and chanting sincerely.
Okay, no, but using
If you had
this,
to
not
choose between the two,
no,
then this one.
using this and using Harinam to commit new sinful activities. Between these two, what sounds more mature?
This.
This. Because you can't use Harinam to commit new sinful activities. Harinam will multiply those sinful reactions. And then it will come as dukkha. And ultimately, after suffering through a lot of dukkha, you have to come to this point. Finally, in this life or some other life, everybody has to come to this point. Dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha. So, dear devotees, not only in the Yoga Sutras, also in Sankhya, it has been explained that there are many types of distress in enjoyment. First is arjan tushti. There is immense suffering in attaining objects of material enjoyment. Ask those people who are yet trying to find a spouse to get married. They're 30, 35, 40 years of age. It is not easy for them to attain material enjoyment in the form of getting married to a spouse of their choice. Arjana dukkha, one of the distress. Arjan tushti. Second, rakshan tushti. There are some people who get married, but they are finding it difficult to maintain their marriage. Sometimes the spouse is not faithful. They're afraid the spouse might run away with somebody else. So, rakshan tushti. This is from the Sankhya philosophy, dear devotees. Third is kshaya tushti. There is immense suffering when these objects of enjoyment start dwindling and getting destroyed. Especially in a marriage, when old age comes, people experience tremendous lamentation. Even if the marriage is very good, they experience that no, it is going to end sooner or later. Dear devotees, kshaya tushti. Fourth, dear devotees, bhog tushti. Future suffering awaits anyone who enjoys these objects. As I said in the previous slide, every enjoyment creates a samskar. And that samskar hurts you when the object of enjoyment is not available. I'll give you another example. For example, in this life, somebody had access to many good vehicles, and driving all those vehicles, they got a lot of enjoyment. With every such experience, a samskar was built in their consciousness. But in the next life, they became very poor and couldn't afford even a single vehicle. Dāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, in their next life, the samskars of previous life which gave enjoyment, what are those samskars going to give them?
Suffering.
Suffering. So, bhog tushti, future suffering awaits anyone who enjoys these objects in the present. As soon as we step into enjoyment, we are stepping into suffering. Please remember this. Any stepping into enjoyment is stepping into future suffering. And finally, the most important principle, dear devotees, please remember this. This is one of the most important principles given in Sankhya Shastra, himsa tushti. No enjoyment in the world is possible without causing mental or physical violence to other living entities. Dāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, I want you to challenge this fifth point. Can you try to challenge the fifth point?
What if you just go on a roller coaster?
You go on a roller coaster. In order to maintain the roller coaster, to build the roller coaster, to ensure that the roller coaster regularly works, do you think it is enjoyment for the workers or suffering for the workers?
But they're being paid so nicely.
Of course, payment is just band-aid on their suffering, isn't it?
They're passionate about building roller coasters.
Oh, wonderful.
And they take great joy in it.
Do you think, Prabhu, a person would sweat out in the day making a roller coaster, or would they sit at home in front of the TV? What would they do?
He wants to feel like he's building something, like his life has some significance, and he's making a wonderful roller coaster for children.
All right. But he could have done it at his time, at his pace, whenever he wants, at his location. But he's forced to work at a certain place away from his family just in exchange for money. And let's say, all right, not only that, a roller coaster requires you to use so many other resources such as oil or electricity, extracting all those things from the earth. There are people who need to work for that. Do you think that comes at the cost of enjoyment or suffering?
It's suffering. I think the more you try to justify it, the more you just create some romanticized fantasy about what it's like that doesn't match the reality at all.
Right. So, can we challenge this fifth point, which is a unique contribution of Sankhya? Please tell me.
No.
Dear devotees, please remember this very important fact. Every enjoyment comes at the cost of some mental or physical violence to other living entities. Every enjoyment comes at this cost. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, who will pay the price of this himsa, this violence?
Person who commits it.
Yes. Therefore, it is very important to understand that every enjoyment that we have enjoyed in exchange of violence committed to so many living entities is going to come at the cost of our future suffering. The intelligent ones will desist from unnecessary sense, not from, because it is impossible to desist from all sense enjoyment. Some sense enjoyment is required to maintain the body. But the intelligent people will desist from all unnecessary sense enjoyment, and especially from all sinful pap, and especially from all pap in the name of Harinam, dear devotees. Therefore, Shri Jiva Goswami specifies what is the attitude of the devotee. The devotee, after understanding all these things, the slides that I showed from Yoga Sutra, from Sankhya Sutra, which show the suffering behind material enjoyments. After understanding this, an intelligent devotee should naturally desist from it. But if a devotee is still not able to desist from it, then what can they do? So Sri Jiva Goswami says in the Bhakti Sandarbha, Bhakti Ichchunam tu anena durvasana dukkha darshanena cha. Bhakti Ichchunam. Those desiring bhakti see the misery and bad samskars that will arise from the negative acts they are engaging in and voluntarily desist from those acts. So I told you all the negative samskars, all the misery. In the previous slides, I told you. Sri Jiva Goswami says you have to see this. Otherwise, you are not bhakti ichu, you are not desirous of bhakti. Or else, even after seeing this, you are not able to desist. Then you simply pray to Bhagavan, Bhagavan, please, you are all merciful, be merciful unto me. Now, what is the meaning of this prayer? Bhagavan, you are all merciful, please be merciful unto me. There is a very deep implication of this prayer, dear devotees, and today I am telling you uh, the deep implication of the prayer. If a devotee is still not able to get rid of material enjoyments, even after seeing so many faults in those enjoyments, even after seeing so many faults, if we are not able to desist, then the only prayer that the devotee can offer unto Bhagavan is, Bhagavan, please send some suffering which will wake me up, because there is no other way. Bhagavan, there is no other way. And didn't Queen Kunti also pray for the same? Bhagavan, Vipadaha Santutah Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru. Bhagavan, I want to be sincere, but there is, even after knowing so many faults in material enjoyment, even after knowing that as I am enjoying, I am suffering, still I am not able to give up. Bhagavan, please arrange for some suffering. Sa karunamayam karuna karotu. Bhagavan, you can do it. And then, dear devotees, that is the attitude of the mature devotee. And then there is that verse, Tatte nukampam susamikṣamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. When the devotee is suffering, the devotee remembers, yes, this is needed. All suffering, it gives us a very valuable lesson of maturity, that I will not commit negative activities again. I will not commit negative activities again. Because, dear devotees, whenever a living entity has to select between two sufferings, a major suffering and a minor suffering, the living entity naturally selects the minor suffering. I'll give you a simple example of this. For example, if two choices are given to a person, that either you walk barefoot on a burning hot street, burning due to the sun, or I cut off your legs. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, which option will a person take?
Walking on the street.
So, the tendency of the living entity is to accept the lower amongst the two sufferings. So, here, if we are intelligent, we will understand the suffering which will be caused by my continuous engagement in sinful activities, the future suffering which will be caused by that, and the less amount of suffering that Bhagavan gives in the present, but which will help me come out of it. Which suffering should be preferred? Prabhu, please tell me.
The suffering that will help you come out of it.
Yes. So therefore, the devotee prays, Bhagavan, send some token suffering which will help me come out of this. Some token suffering which will help me come out of this. And that is the greatest mercy of Bhagavan. The greatest mercy of Bhagavan. Dear devotees, in this way, a devotee gets rid of the tendency to commit sinful activities altogether. And when a devotee has given up that tendency, what to speak of the tendency of committing sinful activities on the name of Harinam? That tendency also automatically disappears. With this, dear devotee, I will pause my speech. Thank you so much. Yadatra skalitam kinchit vidvam saha purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tadguroreva me nahi. Yadatra skalitam kinchit. I might have made a mistake. So many mistakes I have made myself in my life, because of which Bhagavan still reminds me that Hari Parshad Das, you have still a lot to learn. But if there is any mistake which I have committed in this talk with Vamsa, you are learning devotees, purayantu tat. Please correct mistakes. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit, but if there's anything nice, please remember, tad guru reva, it belongs to my gurujanas. Me nahi, it doesn't belong to me. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Thank you, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a really striking class. Such a important topic for those of us who struggle in so many different ways on the bhakti path. And there's some really great inspiring info that we can use to improve ourselves. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
We're going to go now to Q&A, but first, if you're watching online and you'd like to join our live classes, please just send an email to this email address and include your WhatsApp number and country code. For our questions and answers, please only ask questions related to today's class. Even a lot of topics can come up during the Q&A and turn into tangents, but if you keep your questions focused on the class that was presented, that would be very much appreciated. We want to make sure everyone gets a turn to ask questions, and so it's taken away from other people's opportunity if you take a long time and you ask a series of questions. So therefore, we ask that you just ask one question and then get back in line if you have more. Really high research detailed questions are better for our WhatsApp group. And most importantly, we don't want to use this forum to indirectly criticize anyone by trying to point out how here in this Shastra it says this, but look at that person and they do that. That kind of finger pointing is not welcome here. And that's why we don't bring up any particular person or institution. And lastly, this is a informal meeting, and so we ask that we keep it into a informal mood. Thank you. Anything else, Prabhuji?
Maybe you can open up the chat also.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. I'll open the chat now. So if you're a little shy or you're better in writing than speaking, you can put your question there and I'll read it. Our first question is from Vamshidhara Gopal Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please
My
accept
pranam.
my Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Prabhuji for explaining this very intricate topic so much in detail and clarity. So the question I have is that Prabhuji, you mentioned that so all jivas have some tendency of doing some papa due to all previous samskar and everything. And we say that when we start chanting Harinam, the purpose of that or the effect of that is that it uproot the tendency to do the pap itself. That's the one of the which we
Right.
learned in the previous verse, right?
Right.
So, and based on my own personal experience, I can relate to that because the person who is not doing Harinam or not even inclined to do bhakti or believe in God, for them that thought even will not come that they are even doing papa. Sometimes they think that okay, they are doing all right, right?
Right. Right.
So as we start chanting, then our consciousness is somehow getting pure, and then we understand okay, we are doing something wrong, and then that Naam itself is doing its effect to uproot the tendency to do the pap itself. So that's where I'm just getting little doubt in my mind from today's discussion that if somebody is doing pap with the wicked tendency that I want to do pap to on the strength of Naam, how can that happen if somebody is doing the Naam sincerely? So that
It
can
can-
happen only if somebody is not doing Naam sincerely, right?
Yeah, that can only happen if somebody is not doing Naam sincerely. And
Right.
if a person is sincere means true to themselves. Because you can lie to the entire world, but
Right.
what is the purpose of lying to your own self?
Right.
What is the purpose of self-deceit? So the self-deceit is what causes a person to engage in such behavior. And therefore, with other aparats also, Sri Jiva Goswami doesn't use such a strict language. But in this aparat, you can see Sri Jiva Goswami uses a very strict language.
Right.
That Naam has to punish such a person because, there is no other cure for wickedness besides suffering. So that is what you are correct in your understanding that this aparad happens with a person who is inherently wicked in nature, who has no desire for self-transformation, but who only wants a license for continuing his path on the strength of Harinam. That's all.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, so just like, so such person will happen either two things. Either they will not be able to continue Harinam for too long, or they will just, fall into the ditch they are creating for themselves,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah. See, what will happen to them is either a huge mass of suffering will awaken them,
right,
either that, or
right,
either for a long time their bhakti will disappear, and maybe in
right,
some future life or something, due to after some suffering, maybe when
right,
they'll again take up, then they will
right,
understand. And I'll
right.
help. I'll explain with a very simple example. For example, there is a person who is a devotee, but
Hmm.
he is cheating other devotees of their money. This habit he
Hmm.
has. He's cheating other devotees
Hmm.
of their money, and he has
Hmm.
made a business out of it. And in his
Hmm.
mind, he thinks, well, anyways, ultimately Bhagavan will take care of everything. Bhagavan knows
Hmm.
my condition, ultimately he'll take care of everything. So Bhagavan knows my
Hmm.
condition. So
Hmm.
he's, so then he is using Bhagavan's bhakti, Bhagavan's naam, and shamelessly cheating people of their money.
Hmm.
I hope you are able to understand. Now, such a
Yeah, right,
person has to spend some time in good amount of suffering.
right.
They have to realize what it was to cause this suffering unto others.
Hmm.
Then, when Daridrya Manjanam, that Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto
Right.
says, when the sharp ointment, the stinging ointment of poverty is applied to his eyes, then he will
Hmm.
realize what it is to put other people into suffering. And
Hmm.
after experiencing the suffering themselves, they will say, no, no, I will not put anybody into such suffering ever. I will never put a person into such suffering in my entire life. Purpose achieved. Now you can resume your bhakti. The purpose
Right.
was not to put you in unlimited suffering. The purpose was to cleanse your heart. If that
Hmm.
purpose is achieved through suffering, let it be achieved through suffering. If that purpose is achieved through sincerity, let it be achieved through sincerity. You can take the shorter and easier path by
Right.
sincerity, or you can
Right.
take the long, winded path by suffering. It's up to you.
Right.
So I hope that answers your query. All right.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If every person on this planet just hear this one class and understand, then I think all the suffering from this world will go away, both individually and collectively. So
Hare Krishna.
thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Next we have Bhakti Pravina Mataji. She might be frozen. Oh, okay, I see blinking. Bhakti Pravina Mataji, are you there? All right. We'll come back to you. Next we have Kamala Devi Mataji and Kamniya Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Babaji, Dhanvat my humble
Yeah.
obeisances at your lotus feet, and Dhanvat to all the Vaishnavas, and especially to Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu and Param Karuna Prabhu, who are consistently arranging such wonderful classes for devotees. Thank you so much, Babaji. Thank you so much for your support. So, Babaji, as you absolutely beautiful class, and you really delineated the aparad itself and what types and all stuff. So my question is generic about aparad, right? So generally aparad happens when we are into spiritual stuff, like when we are doing any spiritual activity or any japa or serving to the deities or serving to the Vaishnava, whatever. So the results of aparad, negative results, whatever it's going to come. So does it come in the form of spiritual dizziness or spiritually going down, or the results come into the form of material suffering as well?
Sure. So this question is very pertinent. What is the result of aparad? The result of aparad are twofold. They are mentioned in the Madhurya Kadambani by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The first result is obviously slackening of bhakti. Obviously, that is slackening of bhakti. That is the first and most obvious result. And this result is also mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So I will not speak without quoting Praman. In the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the first result of aparad is mentioned. And here is what it says. I am sharing my screen and I will explain the verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is 1354 of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhavopi abhavam ayati Krishna prestha aparadhatah. You can see here aparadhatah is mentioned here by Sri Rupa Goswami. Aparadhatah, by committing aparadh. By committing aparadh to whom? To prestha, to somebody who is dear. To somebody who is dear to whom? Krishna. By committing an aparadh to a devotee who is dear to Krishna, what happens? Bhavopi abhavam. Even from your stage of bhava, it becomes abhava. You start losing your bhava. Even stage of bhava bhakti, you start losing. Bhavopi abhavam ayati Krishna prestha aparadhatah. In Hindi, in one sentence, I will say, भाव भी अभाव बन जाता है यदि कृष्ण के प्रिय व्यक्ति का अपराध किया जाता है. So even bhav turns into abhav if you commit an aparadh towards a Vaishnava. That is what the verse. So this is one obvious result. All right. Another obvious result of committing aparadhs is also that you get some suffering, material suffering. But that material suffering is not as a result of your karma. That material suffering is directly given by Bhagavan. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti explains here in his commentary one of the verses of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Kutrachid Vaishnav aparadhadi phalam iti vivechaniyam. Sometimes negative material results come due to Vaishnava aparadh. So he 122 commentary Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains. So both results come to a person who is committing aparadh. Suffering may also come, slackening of bhakti may also come. And that depends on Bhagavan, because what medicine does Bhagavan want to give to such a person? Does Bhagavan want to give the medicine of suffering to such a person? Or does Bhagavan want to give the medicine of slackening of bhakti to such a person? Because different people learn through different medicines. Some people learn through the medicine of suffering. Some people learn only after losing their bhakti. So that depends on Bhagavan. But both results are there. So I hope that answers your query. Right?
Sure. So it can be both, or it can be either one of them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Both or either. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Babu. Thank you.
Right.
Next, we have Radha Kund Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandot Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you so much for Prabhuji for the wonderful class as always. I have a question regarding the forbidden acts in the life of devotees. That is the topic, right? So
Yeah.
Sometimes we see that Prabhuji in the Kirtan, in the Kirtan category or other categories, we see devotees who are very, very, they do the Kirtan very nicely, and they become, very famous in the world also. And but when we go closer to them, we understand that they have some, they have some leftover habits like lust and everything. They have lust, and we observe that they have lust and everything, and they do some forbidden acts in the life, in their devotion. And they might be knowing the 10 offenses towards the Supreme Lord, but they don't have the knowledge you have been given here now. Actually, what happens, right? If they commit sinful acts on the strength of the holy name and all these things, they don't know very deep into it. So in that case, they continue doing that, and other devotees used to appreciate them. But whoever goes very close to them, they understand that they still have lust remaining in their hearts, and they are doing forbidden acts. So in that case, if the devotee realizes that they are doing forbidden acts on the strength of holy name, then they do criticize themselves, and some repentance comes in their heart and everything. Then Bhagavan reciprocates. But in this case, we cannot tell them because they're on a very high level celebrity status, and then we cannot tell them that they are doing forbidden acts, which is not good. But at the same time, we just see them like that, and what would be the Bhagavan's what happens to them, and what should be our attitude towards them, and what should be Bhagavan's attitude? What is Bhagavan's attitude towards them? What happens to their devotional life? Thank you, Prabhuji.
So the entire point of discussing 10 aparadhis so that we can avoid it. It's not about social implementation of it. It's about how we can avoid it. So that's the main point of the discussion of the 10 approach. How will Bhagwan deal with us? Like if I start saying that, how will Bhagwan deal with that person who is smoking, or that person who is taking drugs, or that person who is having lust? So that is something which Bhagwan will decide for them. Usually what Harinam does, that Sri Jiva Goswami specified, Harinam amplifies their negative reactions if they are using Harinam to counteract their sinful activities. Harinam amplifies it. That is what Sri Jiva Goswami has said. Bhagwan may sometimes give suffering, Bhagwan may sometimes take them away from bhakti, Bhagwan may sometimes take them so much away from bhakti that sometimes, even though they may be a very good kirtan singer, but inside their heart they may be a complete atheist. It may happen. There may be individuals who are very well known, who are very renowned, who are having high positions, but within their heart there is absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's all dry and empty. So, uh, yeah. So in this way, it happens that they start losing their bhakti. Bhagavan has a way of bringing everyone to the correct path, but we should not be overly bothered about others as long as they are not our guru. If such a thing is happening with one of our gurus, that is of concern. As long as a person is not of our guru status, we should not be overly bothered about it, because in every institution there are people appointed to take care of negative situations. Those people should be bothered about it. Not common people should not be so much bothered about it. Of course, if it is becoming too much, we can report to an institutional authority. That is the best we can do. Otherwise, personally, we shouldn't be bothered so much about it. Bhagwan will deal with such a person either by giving them suffering or by taking them away from bhakti for some time. So that is the answer. Thank you.
We have a question in the chat. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, there are situations in life when people have hurt us or we have become victims of their wrongdoing. So naturally in our minds, we don't think good of them. So if any bad thought against someone comes in our mind, is that papa? Or if we instantly correct ourselves and change the thought as it crosses our mind, is it still a papa?
Right. So if somebody has done something wrong against us and we are feeling resentful of them, we are feeling negative towards them, obviously that is the first natural reaction that anybody in the world will have, to develop some resentment towards somebody who has committed a negative activity towards us. But this is the initial reaction. If we stay forever on the initial reaction, then we are not maturing in our understanding. Because sticking to a source of suffering is also suffering for us. That person is definitely a source of has been a source of suffering for us, and we are sticking to them so closely that that person is causing continuous suffering to us now. Therefore, what is important for us is to maturely come out of the clutches of this suffering that this person has caused us. And how do we do that? We do that by understanding that even remembering dukkha is also creating a samskar. Remembering happiness is also creating a samskar, but remembering unhappiness is also creating a new samskar in our hearts. And this new samskar will again keep us giving future unhappiness. So instead of that, it is very important for us to deal with it in a very holistic way and to understand that some negative reaction came to me. It did not come to anybody else in the world. It came to me. It came to me. Why did it come to me? And why did it not come to anybody else? And I'll give you an answer from modern world psychology. Usually I give answers from Shastra, but I'll give one answer from modern world psychology. The world doesn't owe you anything. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, how does that sound?
It's great advice.
Yeah. The world doesn't owe you justice. The world doesn't owe you kindness. The world doesn't owe you anything at all. But if this is a purely modern point of view, it doesn't take into account karma. But the theistic karmic point of view, I'm switching back to the Shastric mode. The theistic karmic point of view will tell us that there is something in the past, otherwise this should not have happened. If we are mature enough to accept that, then we can move ahead in our life. And if we are not mature enough to accept that, then we'll keep on clinging to the suffering. And it will cause newer and newer samskars of suffering, and which will again put us into further more instances of suffering. Instead of that, come out of it holistically, accept the fact that some suffering came to me because of this person. I may want to stay away from that person, but I'll not harbor negative feelings towards that person. That person was only an instrument of giving something which I was supposed to receive. And this is what theistic systems of philosophy have told me. Otherwise, I should have not received this. This is the only holistic way of dealing with it. All other ways of dealing with it are either based on revenge or atheism. The only theistic ways of dealing with it is to understand how karma works. So, I hope that was able to answer the question. Thank you.
Could I add a little comment, Prabhuji?
Sure, Prabhu. I really love to, because I think today's topic is such that you and me have a lot of common interest in this topic, and I'd like to say Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu is a counselor, a coach. He helps many devotees in their lives. Dear devotees, those of you who are really looking for some advice for him, if you're going through some situations in life, but you need some help, and you need help which will work for you on a day-to-day basis, you should definitely. This is what you do, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much for the recommendation. And yes, I welcome everyone to get in touch with me through WhatsApp. If you want to talk through any personal experiences, difficult things you're going through, for a confidential place to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so an example is given of if a deer is harmed by a lion.
Right.
It's really natural for the deer to think, oh, well, this lion is causing me so much pain, so he must intend to cause me pain.
Yeah.
Because he's evil.
Yeah.
But it's really just the lion's nature.
Yeah.
And so it's very rare that other people think of things in exactly the same way we do. And usually whatever they're doing, they think is right. It might not be right, but it can be really helpful to understand that they're not intending to cause me harm. They're just acting according to their own nature.
Wonderful.
And
yes,
that goes nicely with what you said about fate.
Yes.
You just
Wonderful,
consider
Prabhu.
it your fate.
Yes, Prabhu. There's a very nice verse which is very closely related to what you just said, and I'll share that verse. It is from the Subhashit literature, and this verse is in front of us. This verse says, "Jadaस्तपोभिः शमयन्ति देहं बुधा मनश्चापि विकार हेतुं श्वामुक्तमस्त्रं दशतीति कोपात् क्षेप्तारमुद्दिश्य हिनस्ति सिंह." Fools try to conquer and pacify the senses by their austerities. The intelligent, on the other hand, try to conquer the original cause of agitation, that is the mind. The mind is the root of all material distress. Just like a foolish fox hit by an arrow expresses anger by trying to bite the arrow that has hit him, whereas the intelligent lion finds out the hunter, the original cause of distress, and chases down and slaughters him. The dear devotees, this is the difference between the less intelligent person and the more intelligent person. The less intelligent person looks at the immediate cause of suffering, and the more intelligent person looks at the ultimate cause of suffering. So don't try to bite the arrow. Try to hunt the hunter who shot the arrow. And that is our own karma from previous lives, which is hunting us down and giving us so much suffering. But thank you, Prabhu. That wonderful reflection. Thank you so much.
So valuable. The last thing I'll say is that what I found in my own life is that if you artificially try to forgive someone, it doesn't really work, especially if you're still vulnerable to them mistreating you.
Yeah.
And so it's really helpful to have healthy boundaries. Even you can have a respectful distance from a devotee. And that makes it a lot easier for you then to just work on your internal forgiveness and peace of mind. So our next question is from, you have a comment on that, Prabhuji?
Yeah, I really love the way sometimes you put the same things in a different, from a different perspective. So I'm really very appreciative of the way that you're putting things, and I thank you so much for doing what you're doing, Prabhu. You're really helping not only the devotee community but also the broader world, for which I'm very appreciative. Thank you so much.
It's very kind of you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Our next question is from Vaibhav Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
My pranam.
I have a question regarding the aparadh which we have it in our mind, right? And that put us in guilt mode, right? Yeah, like just what we are uh, sharing in the class, right? So my mind was like racing in the past thoughts and trying to see what things have been occurred and what was my reaction, and it puts you in a guilt mode. So and it deviates you from your japa and everything, right? So the service which you are doing. So how we cannot fall in the guilt mode and focus on the your services like japa and all other things.
So what the question is? What is the question, Prabhu? Vaibhav Prabhu?
Yeah, my question is how we can overcome with the guilt mode which we are getting within our mind and focus on the chanting or any other day-to-day activities.
Right. See, the guilt comes. Why does guilt come? Because we were supposed to behave in a certain way and we could not behave in that particular way. We behaved the exact opposite of it. That is the reason why guilt comes within our mind. We are externally pretending to be somebody, internally we are not that person. That is why guilt comes in the mind of a person who has good conscience. So congratulations, you have good conscience, because this guilt doesn't arise in the mind of a wicked person. A wicked person doesn't experience guilt. A person who is good enough in their conscience experiences guilt. So already the basis of sincerity is present because you are experiencing some amount of guilt. The acharyas recommend that guilt is not a solution. Guilt cannot be a solution. What is the solution? The solution is to see the faults in material enjoyment, and the solution is to see the negative samskars, the suffering that will come out of enjoyment. And instead of seeing guilt, use that same time to see faults in material enjoyment and become a yogi, a true bhakti yogi, and ensure the destruction of that suffering which comes. Ensure the destruction of your suffering by making sure that you don't fall into that material enjoyment. Every time you step into a material enjoyment, if the mind reminds you that this is not really enjoyment, this is actually enjoyment mixed with a lot of suffering. And I told you all that suffering today from Yoga Shastra, from Sankhya Shastra. It is exactly like drinking honey mixed with poison. So, Vaibhav Prabhu, will any intelligent person in this world like to drink honey with poison? Please tell me.
No.
No.
Never, yeah.
Never. The sooner you start seeing the poison, the sooner you'll stop seeing the honey. I hope you're able to understand. So better than investing your time in guilt is to invest your time in investigating the faults of material enjoyment. So use that time in fault finding material enjoyment. I hope that answers your query. Thank you. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu.
Next we have, sorry, it took me a minute to unmute. Next we have kṛpā Prabhu.
Oh, wonderful. Very good.
Dandavat Hariparsad Prabhu, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis. Except to a full surrender devotee that can apply Sarva Dharma Parityajan, following paradharma doesn't means rejecting dharma, but especially in Western countries, in our immature communities of Hare Krishna devotees, in some cases we rejected studying the university or care properly our family or parents for try to surrender to Krishna or participate in one community. How can understand in a proper way the Dharma Shastra? You explained some things today class, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Chaitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam explained a lot of things of of Dharma Shastra, but how can we understand more deeply this knowledge? Because I think that is very important for maintain our spiritual path in a proper way.
Wonderful. There are devotees who are completely detached, virakta, and they give up their families. For them, it is not a fault because they are prepared, they have the maturity from previous lives and this life that they can remain detached. No fault for them because they already had the adhikar, the eligibility for detachment. There are those who don't have the eligibility for detachment. Yet, because somebody told them to become detached, they left their family, they left their relationships. Later, they regret and may sometimes go back to the material world. Even for them, there is ultimately no fault, but immediately they may experience the results of some of those faults. Ultimately, there is no fault for them that is specified in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Ko vartha apto bhajatam. So I will point out that verse. त्यक्त्वा स्वधर्मं चरणाम्बुजं हरेर् भजन् अपक्वोऽथ पतेत् ततो यदि यत्र क्व वा भद्र अभूदमुष्य किं को वार्थ आप्तो अभजताम स्वधर्मतः. 1570 of Bhagavatam, where Narad Muni says, Prabhu, you only, Kriparam Prabhu, you please read the translation.
One who has forsaken this material occupation to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee thoroughly engaged in occupational duties does not gain anything.
Wonderful. This verse is perfectly applicable to that case. So one who has forsaken means given up his material dharma to engage in bhakti of the Lord may sometimes fall down because of immaturity. As I said, the completely detached one will not fall, but the immature one may fall down and may experience some negativity. Yet there is no danger of him being unsuccessful. Ultimately, there is no danger for them. Immediately, they may be seeing to be some suffering, some danger. Ultimately, there is no danger for them. And on the other hand, people who follow all the dharma, but they are not having bhakti, after following all that dharma, the final result is good samskaras. And good samskaras are nothing but the first step into suffering. That's what I'm saying. The good samskaras are nothing but the first. Bad samskaras are directly suffering. Good samskaras are also the first step into suffering. So they are both binding in this material world. So it is true that a person should follow their dharma because it is better to have good samskars rather than having bad samskars. It is better to, in this world, it is better to have good samskars rather than having bad samskars. It's good to follow your dharma, especially if you are not detached from the world, if you are not a complete vairagi, and bhakti yoga doesn't expect you to be a complete vairagi in the beginning. And even you don't need to be a very severe vairagi, but you need to understand the problems with material enjoyment. At least that much vairagya should be there. Bhakti should lead to that vairagya. It says, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yada Haitukam. Have you seen that verse, Prabhu? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. I'll show you that verse where it says that bhakti naturally leads to some detachment. And is 1.2.7 Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. By rendering devotional service to personality of Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the detachment should come. The result of executing sincere bhakti is sincere detachment because the devotee starts seeing faults in the world As soon as the devotee starts seeing faults in the world, there is detachment. But the devotee still sometimes they have to engage in some family duty, some dharma. They engage unwillingly, engage unwillingly. So when they do that, just as obligation, the result of that karma doesn't come to them because they are not engaging in that karma out of a spirit of enjoyment. They are engaging in that karma out of a spirit of obligation, not out of a spirit of enjoyment. In the Gita, it is called as Loka Sangraha, preserving the family tradition. So sometimes they may do that. So it is possible that a devotee may still maintain their family traditions, may stay connected to the family, but with a detached heart, knowing that there is no future to material relationships, any material relationship. But still they maintain. Why do they maintain? Loka Sangraha, for the purpose of maintaining family traditions. My bhakti should not become a cause of breakdown of the family. For this reason, a devotee maintains family traditions, family relationships. So that is called Loka Sangraha. In the Gita, Shri Krishna speaks about Loka Sangraha, maintaining family tradition, and tells Arjun, Arjun, even if you don't want to fight, just because you are a Kshatriya, and just because it is your family tradition to fight, just for maintaining the family tradition, you fight. Even if you personally are not inclined to fight, just for maintaining a family tradition of being a Kshatriya, you fight, Arjun. So devotees may do like that. So it is possible for them to maintain their status of bhakti while keeping their dharma at the same time. So I hope that answers your query. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
We have a question in the chat. It says,
Prabhu,
when one sincere... Yes.
in case you have to go away and hand it over to me or Param Prabhu, let me know.
Thank you. So far, so good, but I'll let you know. The question says, when one sincerely surrenders to Krishna and accepts a guru, it is said that Krishna takes away all previous karma. How then should we understand any suffering due to past karma? Is it Lord Krishna himself who directly gives the suffering or happiness, or is it something else?
Okay. That question is answered by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary to Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And I am pointing out 122 of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says something. He says, and I have spoken of this many times, he says, Bhaktanam prarabdha samanya nashepi, even though prarabdha karma, in general karma for the devotees is destroyed, still, yat sukha dukkham drishyate, whatever happiness and suffering is seen. Let's take suffering first. Tatra tu sukham bhakter anushangikam phalam. Happiness is the material happiness that you see even after their karmas have been destroyed. That happiness is simply a side effect of executing bhakti. And he quotes a verse to support that. I'll not get into that verse in detail. Then he says dukkham. This should be dukkham. Dukkham tu kutrachit bhagavad dattam. Suffering is sometimes directly given by Bhagavan. Then he quotes a verse, Yasyaham anugridami. Bhagavan says, if I am favorable to somebody, I give them some dukkha. I give them some misery so that they can realize the actual nature of material enjoyment. And kutrachit Vaishnava aparadhadi phalam. Sometimes suffering is a result of Vaishnava aparadha. So why does happiness and suffering keep happening even in the lives of devotees after diksha, after so-called destruction of karma? That answer is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary. So I hope that answers your query.
Next, we have a question from Doshna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Am I audible?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So Prabhuji, sometimes unintentionally because we are part of a system, we are responsible for some papa like specifically here we have lot of highways that are built in the forest, and whenever cars go by they hit animals. So in my recent trip I saw like 2 deer and couple of squirrels just lying dead on the road, and it feels like even I am responsible because I am using those services. So how to deal with that sadness and that sense of responsibility?
I want a clarification. I mean, you are unhappy because you are using the highways, or you are unhappy because you personally struck an animal?
I did not. I see them dead, but that is painful.
Okay, so you see that the animals are dead, but you did not have anything personally to do with the killing of an animal because you were not behind the wheel when the animal was struck. So obviously the karma is not going to come directly to you. It is your soft-heartedness and compassionate nature that you feel for them. So Prakriti arranges many ways for the life and death of every living entity. If there would be no roads, they would be in the forests. And if they would be in the forest, there would be wild animals. So instead of dying on the road, they would sometimes instead die at the hands of a wild animal. Because previously there were not so many roads, but there were many wild animals in the forest. So one way or other, Prakriti, nature will find a way to, end the life of a particular living entity and the body of a particular living entity. As long as you are not directly involved in the act of killing, till that time, you don't have to take a lot of guilt around it.
Prabhuji, but the road was built for like me to use because I was using it.
It was not built only for you.
Yeah.
It was built for the entire population. If it was built on your order only for you, then you can say that, yeah, you have a share in it. But it was not built only for you. Neither were you the one driving the vehicle. Neither, and there is nothing in Shastra which says that all people who traverse on a road get the reaction of any animal who dies on the road. There is nothing in Shastra which says like that. So, Pap is calculated on the basis of what Shastra says. So, and there is a very nice verse which says that in Kali Yuga, Pap applies when you personally commit the act. That is when Pap applies in Kali Yuga. So there is a very nice verse which is in Parashar Smriti about this. And I will share this particular verse from Parashar Smriti. And here is the verse which says that Krite Sambhashanadev Tretayam Sparshanena cha Dvapare Tvannamadaya Kalau Patati Karmana. Satyuga, one can fall simply by conversing with a sinner. So somebody may have killed an animal and you talk to them, it is possible that you may get part of the sin. In Treta Yuga, by touching a sinner. In Dwapar Yuga, by accepting some grains, foodstuffs, or gifts from a sinner. But in Kali Yuga, one falls into sin only when one personally commits the sin. So that is how, because the rishis know that situations are difficult in Kali Yuga. Therefore, the concessions are also given for this particular age. So you need not worry if you are not directly involved. You can feel, it's always nice to feel compassion for the animals. Compassion is good. But to say that you are personally guilty for it is not according to Shastra. Right?
Just to follow up, a decade ago there was an instance where somebody
Mataji, is it okay if we come back to you just because there's other people in line? Thank you so much for your understanding. Hi, Parshad Prabhu. Do you want to take questions about Papa in general or specifically Papa Buddhi? Because the class was about sinning on the strength of chanting, but we're getting a lot of questions about like, is this sinful? Is that sinful?
Yeah. The reason is because many devotees are concerned not about Pap Buddhi. They're concerned about actual Pap. And therefore,
I guess that's a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah. But you
So
won't
I guess
say,
someone here has Papa Buddhi.
yeah. You won't get questions like, I am having Papa Buddhi. What should I do? No. I'm afraid of directly committing a pap. What should I do? So the main concern is that. So I'm okay with questions regarding pap also, no problem, because it is a very it's a very sensitive subject matter for many devotees. So I don't want to keep anyone dissatisfied in that regard.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for clarifying. I have a question about the verse from the Yoga Sutras. It said tapa dukkha. And I didn't understand your translation. Do you just mean the direct suffering of the experience?
No. What is tapa dukkha? I will explain. For example, I'll give a very simple example of this. For example, there are many restaurants in the United States or here in India which offer unlimited buffet, and you might have seen unlimited buffet. Just pay a fixed amount and you can eat unlimited food. And Often in those restaurants, they add baking soda to the food so that you get full very quickly. And you get full very quickly, you can't eat beyond a certain capacity. So let's say you pay $10 for unlimited buffet. But because they have added baking soda to it, you'll only be able to eat $5 worth of food. The remaining $5, you will not be, and you will feel it, that you were not able to utilize your $10 to their fullest potential, even though you had unlimited food in front of you. So your mind will experience tap. My God, even while enjoying, I am not happy, because even while enjoying, there is some pinch which is making me suffer. So that is called as tapaduk. Another example of tapaduk. For example, there is a person who is, let's say there is a boy and girl who meet each other, and they're very happy, they're in love with each other, and the girl, she suddenly comes to know that the boy has been lying to me about his finances. He is not as rich as he claims to be. So although she goes out with him, they're having a good time in the evening, she doesn't want to spoil the mood, and she doesn't want to bring up the topic in front of him. But while she's with him, although she seems to be enjoying, her enjoyment is mixed with some distress, some tapa. So tapa dukkha specifically refers to suffering which you feel at the very instant when you are enjoying. That is what tapa dukkha is.
Got it. Yeah, because you can never have pure happiness or enjoyment. And
Yeah.
any enjoyment you pursue
Yeah.
involves some suffering, and that's
Yeah.
tapadukkha.
Tapadukka.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Mhm.
Next we have Purushottam Prasad Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Okay.
Thank you for the enlightening session. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Prabhu, one of the slides, there is a mentioning that the punya also lead to bhakti. But my understanding from the previous acharya, especially Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, for the cause of the bhakti is the only cause. Neither punya nor anything else. So that's my understanding. But one slide is mentioning the bhakti, the punya also lead to bhakti. My understanding, while performing bhakti,
I got your point, but it was mentioned punya here refers to bhakti sukriti. It doesn't refer to you are speaking about the introductory verse on Harinam, which said that repeated remembrance of Bhagavan.
That's not my question, bro. The question, I have not completed the question, or that was the context. But the question is, a sadhaka while performing bhakti, if it's not focused, the same bhakti become anartha as puja, lava, pratishta, which leads to again commit sins and fall down again. So is this kind of arrangement by the Lord or Yogamaya is the filtering system, or how we have to understand? What's the right perspective of this? It's like, the mind says, oh, at least before I don't know whether it's papa or punya, but after performing bhakti, it seems like I am committing more sins than before coming to bhakti. One may go to that state of mind also. So what is the right perspective?
The right perspective is that as the moment we have entered into bhakti, we have gotten a lot of facilities which other jivas will never have. Facilities for transcending the world, facilities for coming out of all sufferings, and with so many facilities, it is obvious that expectations from you are also high. So it's not that you will only get facilities and the expectations from you will be similar to the expectations that are from the non-devotees.
True. Yes.
So the greater amount of responsibility that has been placed on you is in exchange for a greater amount of expectation that Bhagavan has from you. And he is not expecting anything unreasonable. He is only expecting sincerity. And these other apradhs, they are anarthas, they are anarthas. Labh, puja, pratishtha, they are called bhakti uttha anarthas. They arise they arise from bhakti themselves. So this is mentioned in the Madhurya Kadambini. They are bhakti uttha. They are arising from bhakti. So these anarthas are not caused by Bhagavan. These anarthas are natural side results of incorrectly performing acts of bhakti. So an example is given, just as when a tree grows and when a creeper vine starts growing besides the tree, if you don't cut the creeper in time, then it takes over the tree and it blocks the sunshine of the tree. So the tree stops receiving nourishment and the vine or the creeper receives all the nourishment. So you have to cut the vine at the proper time, otherwise it will take over the nourishment of the tree.
So the Bhakti Lata will not grow properly.
So Bhakti will not grow properly. Right?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks a lot.
Bhakti Pravina Mataji offered a quote from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada writes, "Yes, you can pray to Krishna. Krishna may be prayed to that I am unwilling to become Krishna conscious, so you force me to become so. You put me under certain circumstances so that I may be forced to accept Krishna consciousness. You can pray like that. It is Krishna's special favor and mercy that he sometimes forces a devotee to surrender fully to him."
Yeah. So that I specified that a very mature devotee, no, it should not be done artificially. It's not that, today I heard in the lecture, so today I'm going to pray for suffering. No, to come to that point where a devotee realizes that logic is not working for me, the courts of Shastra are not working for me, I'm not able to convince myself, even though the Yoga Sutra says, Sankhya Shastra says, Bhagavatam says that enjoyment is directly suffering. Not only that, the Bhagavad Gita also says, the Bhagavad Gita says in a single verse what Yoga Sutra explains in detail, and I will quote that particular verse from the Gita. And Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, you can read the translation. This is Yehi samsparshacha bhoga dukkha yonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. 5.22 of Gita. Prabhu, please read.
"An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, so the wise person does not delight in them."
So, Prabhu, isn't this the same thing that Shri Patanjali was saying in the Yoga Sutra? Isn't it?
Yes.
Yes,
it
exactly. So, and the term used is bhoga. Prabhu, what is the meaning of bhoga?
Enjoyment.
Enjoyment. So what is enjoyment is actually dukkha yoni. It is actually the same place from which enjoyment comes is the same place from which suffering will arise. That's it. Exactly the same understanding Bhagavan Krishna is giving that Shri Patanjali gave in the Yoga Sutra. But if a devotee says, even after hearing all of this, I am not able to understand theoretically. Well, if you're not able to understand through theory, you need a practical example. And it is best to take that practical suffering from Bhagavan rather than self-inflicting some suffering upon oneself. So it is best to pray to Bhagavan. Bhagavan, you give the perfect dose of suffering by which I will come to my senses. Bhagavan, because I am not able to. That is the mature mood with which a devotee should pray. It should not be done artificially. It should not be done out of sentiment. It should not be done because somebody else is doing it, so that I also want to do it. It should only be done if one has reached this stage of realization that all other means have failed for me and I'm really very desperate to progress on the path of bhakti. That is when this should be done. All right.
We have a question in the chat. It says, "If I laugh at a humorous conversation in the office, I feel guilty because I am enjoying. Being engaged is part of the corporate culture in North America. What's the best response to humor at the office?"
What's the best response to humor is not considered as pap. There is nowhere in Shastra which is said that humor is pap, as long as you're not laughing on a disabled person, or you're not making fun of somebody's disability or somebody's suffering, etc. Genuine humor is acceptable. It should not cause suffering to other people. The moment our humor causes suffering to other people, it starts getting into the boundary of not acceptable. So we should not use humor as a means to cause suffering to other people. So if that is ensured, it is just a normal, ordinary day-to-day activity. Of course, every activity leaves a samskar in the mind, but this samskar is very faint in comparison to the samskar left by pap. So this samskar can be easily washed away by practice of bhakti, and it is not to be taken very seriously. These things will automatically be taken care of. So, let's move ahead.
So just to clarify, are you saying that we shouldn't feel great alarm anytime we experience some pleasure in this world? Like if I see a beautiful sunset and I feel pleasure at that, should I be really afraid of that experience?
No. You should never be afraid of experiences in the world. We are neither afraid of suffering. We are neither afraid of happiness. We are just cautious that we don't want to voluntarily get ourselves into any enjoyment. Any enjoyment which comes on its own accord is all right, but we don't want to get addicted to any enjoyment. Addiction to enjoyment, addiction to pap is the source of misery. Any enjoyment which comes of its own accord is coming to exhaust our previous karma. But any new enjoyment which we are engaging in out of addiction, and especially if it is against Shastra, we should be careful about that. That is the whole thing. You don't have to live your life constantly with an alarm. Oh, here comes enjoyment. It's another suffering. Of course it is suffering. Of course it is suffering. But this is how the world is. And the yogi is mature enough to know that sooner or later it will be suffering. But I am mature enough to tolerate some suffering. My main point is to continue my execution of bhakti. That's all.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Next, we have a question from Ananga Mohan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for all the insights you have given in today's lecture. Prabhuji, my question is that our existence in this Kali Yuga is sinful, and very subtle rules are given in the Shastras. Just like if we are eating with some meat eater, together with a meat eater, and in some in the corporate life, we have to do these sort of things. So if is implicitly things like that we are chanting the Harinam, and these subtle or intricate sins are being taken care, whether this also comes under the Papuddhi?
See, Pap buddhi is the tendency to commit new sinful activities on the strength of Harinam. In this case, the sinful activity is not applicable to you. I have already quoted the verse from the Smritis that in Kali Yuga, one falls only when one personally commits a sin. I have quoted this verse already. In previous yugas, you can fall by conversing, by touching, staying in contact with a person who is a sinner. But there is special concession for this particular age that you have to carry out the activity yourself in order to get implicated in it. So you are not implicated in the activity as long as you are not personally either cutting the meat, transporting the meat, eating the meat, selling the meat, buying the meat, cooking the meat. If you are not engaged in any one of these 6 activities, you are not directly implicated. So you are thinking that whether it is pap or not, the question is not applicable here. Right? So that is the answer to your query. Right?
No, Prabhuji, by the little whether this thinking that these subtle, intricate paths, whether commit unknowingly or unintentionally, whether we things like that, it is be taken care by our devotional service or by chanting of the Harina.
It will be taken care of. Let Bhagavan decide whether he wants to give suffering or whatever he wants to do. I don't want to give a formula to Bhagavan. Let him decide what he wants to do. That's all. Okay. My purpose is to get his prema, and this positive or negative or what, I don't know about this. There is a very nice verse in Padyavali to this effect, and I'd like to quote that verse. Let me see if I have that particular verse. Anuchitam uchitam va karma koyam vibhago bhagavati paramastam bhakti yogo dradhiyan kirati vishamahindra sandra piyushamindur dvayamapi samahesho nirvishesham vibharti. Malini meter, very nice verse. Anuchitam uchitam va karma. What is the difference between good and bad deeds? What is this good deed? Whether it is good deed or bad deed, this is bad deed or good deed. Let there be firm bhakti. That's all. That's all. Bhagavan will take care, whatever it is. I don't expect Bhagavan to remove them. If Bhagavan wants to give a negative reaction, let Bhagavan give. My concern is not with good or bad deeds so much. I will do my best to avoid paap from my side. All right. But if due to some circumstances, something happens, then I'm not going to worry about it. That's all. All right. And Sri Rupa Goswami also has said this in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, accidentally also, because sometimes it happens in sometimes accidentally some pap happens, not by purpose, accidentally. Accidentally, somebody ended up eating something which was not supposed to be eaten. So it is Sri Rupa Goswami takes up that case in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, where Sri Rupa Goswami says, Nishiddha charato daivat, 1-2-64. Nishiddha charato daivat prayaschittam tu no chitam. Daivat, if due to some misfortune, you did not intentionally do it. Nishiddha acharato, if some forbidden activity have. Prayaschittam tu no chitam. It is not suitable to do any prayaschi. You cannot do any atonement for it. There is no point of doing any atonement. Bhagavan will take care of all those things. All right? But you don't have to think like it. You have to think that let Bhagavan do whatever he wants to do. I am not going to tell Bhagavan how to deal with this. My business is to have prema. That's all. That is the best attitude. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Puri. Thank you so much.
Here's a question from Bhakti Pravina Mataji. We learned from the Subhashita scripture that the more intelligent person tries to control the mind, and in many kathas you said that only Bhakti Rasa can control the mind. But according to Sri Jiva Goswami and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the pure mind is required for smaranam. I cannot imagine experiencing Bhakti Ras without smaranam because manera smarana prana. So how can we be more intelligent and endeavor for the Bhakti Ras while having a contaminated mind? So she's asking, isn't this a circular argument? You need one for the other and the other for the one?
Right. So that was already specified in the Upadeshamritam series. Initial purification of mind happens through kirtan. You just chant, you get up in the morning and chant Krishna, 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 Hey. And initial purification is there. You can engage in basic smaran. You can engage in basic smaran at that particular point of time. And after prolonged such engagement in kirtan and smaran, your level of smaran goes on increasing. From smaran it goes to dharana, from dharana it goes to dhyan, from dhyan it goes to dhruvana smriti, then to samadhi. So it's not that completely impure mind and completely pure mind. It's not like that. There are stages in between, and to the degree that your mind gets purified, to that degree your level of smaran increases. That is how it has been specified by the acharyas. So I hope that answers your query.
Next, we have a question from Ananta Acharya Prabhu.
Yeah.
Are you there, Ananta Acharya Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the class. I just wanted
We're not able to hear you. Wherever your microphone is, if you bring your mouth closer to the microphone, we'll be able to hear you better.
Is it possible now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Yeah, I heard in one of the lectures long back that one of our acharyas write or quotes from some shastras, maybe it was Jiva Goswami or writing, where he mentions a specific count. If we commit this many aparadhs, then we will not be able to.
You're going in and out, unfortunately. You said it in previous series.
In a lecture, he has heard that Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur or Srila Jiva Goswami, if you commit a specific number of aparadhs, then what?
Yeah, then we will not be able to chant attentively, and if we commit this many aparadhs, we will find difficulty in following regulative principles, and if it increases, then we will not even able to chant holy name as well. So is it like that inattentiveness is in practicing devotional services because of aparadhs, and aparadhs are also happening because of inattentiveness, and the cycle goes on? And is it also true in the case of tendency of making aparadhs as well?
First and foremost, I have never heard of a number determining this number of aparadhs you get. You get this reaction. These many aparadhs, you get that reaction. It doesn't work that way. It works by the decision of Bhagavan. So there is no fixed formula which Bhagavan follows in this regard. Bhagavan may forgive a big aparadhi, and Bhagavan may also decide to give a reaction to a small aparadhi. That's completely dependent upon Bhagavan. So there is no such thing which I have seen from the previous acharyas. And about inattention being the source of all aparadhs, there is a api pramada is going to come up in the 10 nam aparadhs. So that we'll discuss that when we get to that particular aparadh. But for your initial question, there is no count mentioned in the Shastra regarding aparadhs. So that is what I'd like to say. Thank you.
Next, we have a question from Kamniya Krishna Prabhu and Kamala Mataji.
There is Param Karuna Prabhu waiting for first time.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Parama Karuna Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Thank you for the series and the classes that you do every week. Very nourishing. Prabhuji, so I have a question on the fundamental aspect of this aparadha. Namno balad yasya papa buddhi.
Yeah.
Very nice explained. How does that, I'm having difficulty in reconciling that with the Srimad Bhagavatam verse 1.18.7, where it is said, especially in Kali Yuga, that sinful activity must actually be performed. If it is there in the mind, then it has no effect. So if I have papa buddhi, and now I knew this verse, namno baladya, but I never paid attention to that aspect and connect it here. So now I'm thinking that I used to think that I do have tendencies, sinful tendencies in my mind. I could have, I'll how come this guy said this to me, and I'll do this to him, but I don't try my best not to actually carry it out. But I took solace in this verse of Bhagavatam that I'm protected because this is the mercy of Kali Yuga. But similarly, I do also recognize that it is not about committing or thinking about doing a sinful activity on the strength of the holy name. That probably I can say I have not even thought about.
That's it.
But I'm asking still that, does this verse from Bhagavatam not provide protection to those who may contemplate it in the mind but not carry it out?
See, the verse from the Bhagavatam is 100% applicable. That in Kali Yuga, one must actually commit a sin in order to, one must physically commit a sin in order to get the reaction for it. Mental sins are not applicable. Secondly, I also shared a verse from the Smriti which says that, the same, that you have a person who has actually committed the sin gets affected in Kali Yuga. Now, the issue is whether somebody is wicked enough to commit a sin and then say, I don't want the result just because I am taking shelter of a limb of bhakti such as Nam. The wickedness is what causes the issue.
But wickedness in executing the sin or wickedness in contemplating,
wickedness is a function of the mind. Wickedness is a function of the mind. It is not a function of the body. Wickedness is something which can arise in any person.
Sure.
In this particular namno balad yasya hi papa buddhi, Sri Jiva Goswami says, a person has already has made plans to engage in sinful activity. So he's definitely going to engage in sinful activity. It's not like the case that you are speaking, that some tendency arose in the mind, but I did not act upon that tendency. That is not the person being spoken of here. The person who's being spoken of here is a person who has clearly made plans to abuse Harinam by chanting Harinam to destroy the newly committed pap. And well, it should apply when he actually commits the pap. But the aparad says no, it starts applying the moment you wickedly start thinking about it. That's the only difference. The person is definitely going to carry out that pap. That is the wickedness of the person, is definitely going to carry out the path. But the aparad starts applying technically when he has made up the mind to perform that particular task. I'll give you another example of this. For example, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sridhar Swami's commentary is there. Smaranam kirtanam kelihi, prekshanam guhya bhashanam. It's 6th canto. Kriya nivrittirevacha. Should be here. Smaranam kirtanam keli, prekshanam guhya bhashanam, sankalpo dhyavasayascha kriya nivrittirevacha. Not able to find it. Yeah, here it is. I'll share my screen. Sridhar Swami. For example, Brahmacharya. All right. Brahmacharya breaks in 8 ways. Smaranam. First is remembrance. Lustful remembrance of the opposite gender. Kirtanam. Singing songs about the opposite gender. Keli. Flirting around with opposite gender. Prekshanam. Lustfully looking upon them. Guhya Bhashanam. Talking to them lustfully in private. Sankalpo. Making up your mind that you will engage in sex. Adhyavasayascha, and making physical preparations for engaging in sex. And Kriya Nivrittir, actually engaging in sex. Evacha. These are the breaks in Brahmacharya. Now Sankalpo, the decision. So when it says Namno Balad Yasya Hi Papa Buddhi, which means he has taken the Sankalpa. Now I will commit. I hope it is speaking about Sankalpa. It's not a fleeting thought that is coming to his mind. The Sankalpa has arisen. The firm determination has arisen. Now I am going to commit this particular, and I'm sure Harinam will take care of it. So that Sankalpa is the wickedness. And that is what distinguishes it from a fleeting thought of sinful activity which you don't work upon. So I hope that makes the difference, that clarifies the difference between us.
Yeah. Just to summarize, and I'm not asking a new question, I'm just summarizing what I understood.
Yeah.
Is that the difference is really somewhere that in the mind, even though it says Papa Buddhi, it's that in the mind, that thought has taken such a, at least it has crossed that threshold that you are going to carry it out.
Right.
No, it's not at such a weaker level where you still have the strength to. That would get the protection of 1.18.7, but since the sankalpa has been made and you will carry it out, therefore it loses that protection and it becomes an aparad. Correct?
All right. Or another thing is, a person may have a thought that, I'll commit this activity in future, Harinam will definitely make sure that I get rid of the negative reaction. So a fleeting thought like that is also passing, is not yet made a firm decision. But the aparad is telling, be cautious. Be cautious right now. Be cautious. Right. This is where you have entered the danger zone. Because the fleeting thought, if it turns into a sankalpa, a firm decision, then you have clearly entered into the danger zone. And if you actually execute that activity, then you are inviting suffering, multiple times suffering upon yourself. So I would say that even the fleeting thought that Harinam will take care of it, don't worry. Sometimes you are entering into that danger zone. Better to avoid that thing in relation to Harinam. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the clarity, Prabhuji. It's very very nourishing to to understand it with such clarity. Very unique and rare.
I'm going to hand over my hosting role now.
Let's make Parampurna Prabhu the host. Then we can take over.
I did. Yeah. Are you the co-host, Parampurna Prabhu?
Yeah, it shows me like that, and I'll.
Great. Some of the questions in the chat are clear. Some are a little difficult to interpret, so you might have to follow up with the person who asked.
Okay, I'll try.
Sure. Thank you, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I'll continue with the live audio questions.
Yeah.
So we'll go to Kamla Mataji and Kamla Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for giving me another chance. Prabhuji, you brought up one of the points in today's discussion about the pessimistic attitude, right? I think at the end, towards the end of the discussion, I can't thank enough that you brought us such a wonderful point, which I was thinking for a long time. So it is in one of the last, I think it was mentioned that any kind of a material stuff, right, it will create a misery at the end. And when you start developing the pessimistic attitude, right, for all the worldly things, so eventually, I believe, maybe at some point of time, you come in at such a level that you are at the verge of becoming completely hopelessness from the world, right? But at the same time, you are living in this material world, right? So you need some kind of a hope or motivation or something so that at least you carry that part. No doubt you still have that pessimistic attitude. But as I said, you are at the verge of becoming hopelessness and completely, maybe I would say, into absenteeism of mind or whatever. But you still need some kind of a positive thing because you have to maintain this body until you die, right? So how to think about that motivation, or how to think that, okay, because if we have a conception behind that, everything is hopelessness, but you still, so I hope you are able to understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I understand.
And
you should have some underlying purpose to survive in the world.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the key word.
See, Prabhu, as long as you have an underlying purpose in the world, there will be a desire to survive in the world. As long as there is a desire to survive in the world, you will be facilitated with a birth to survive in the world. And do you want to be facilitated with another birth to survive in the world? Because the reason for accepting a birth is to have incorrect desires. That is the reason why a person takes a birth, to have to have desires in relationship with the material world. So let me put a scenario in front of you and you please answer me. Let's say there is a husband and a wife, they are both married to each other, and 5 years pass, and the wife has an accident and she goes into coma. And now she is not dead. She is not dead. She is in a complete vegetative state. She is in a coma and she doesn't respond to her husband at all. And you can't, technically you can't kill her, you can't put her to death, she can't talk to you. You have to support, that person has to support his wife throughout his life, even though she doesn't respond to him through her speech, through her actions, anything. What would be the motivation of such a person even though they are not getting any response from such a wife, why would they continue to support such a wife?
Out of moral duty, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so that is the reason why a person stays in the world. There is no purpose remaining for an intelligent person. Because as soon as you keep a purpose alive, you are preparing grounds for another birth. Don't keep any purpose remaining. And that is the intelligent person's way. And I showed in the Yoga Sutra, Dukkham eva sarvam vivekinaha. For the intelligent person, it is all suffering. Do you want to keep any tinge of hope remaining when the Shastra has clearly said that it is all suffering? Please tell me. No. I am not a total pessimist, and I know this answer is not appealing to you so much. Although it is a bitter answer, but I have to speak the truth. There is something which can keep you going in this world, and that is if you learn how to experience bhakti ras. That thing is not of this world. And that purpose will not bring you back in this world. So if you experience bhakti ras, that is a very valid reason for staying alive in this world, in this body, because through this body you will be able to experience bhakti ras, and it is not a desire connected to the material world. And then finally you don't have to come back to this world. So how does that sound?
Wonderful. Actually, sorry to interrupt, Prabhuji. What I wanted to understand, it was like, it was not something which is something remaining to be done in the future. That's why you need that kind of a motive objective. My question was not towards that. So what my point was that when you become a pessimistic attitude towards everything, right, you lose the interest or you lose the enthusiasm, basically, right?
Yeah.
So at that point of time, okay, whatever you answer towards the bhakti, I think that is the best answer I can say, that you can take that one as an enthusiasm, because you don't have any major motive to be achieved into this life, which
Not major motive, you don't have any motives.
correct.
That is,
Exactly.
yeah. Because if you keep a small motive, that motive will lead you to another birth.
Yes. Oh, sorry. That's. Thank you for correcting that. So, how will you make that motivated enthusiasm even after into that stage where you become completely hopeless for the everything? How will you become, because you are ultimately some or other way you are living in this material world, right? So
Well, that is the modern paradigm which we all have been fed. Somehow or other, you have to keep existing in this world.
correct.
After you become fully detached, why not leave? You also have the option of leaving, isn't it?
Mhm.
You also have the option of leaving and taking up bhakti full time, if you have the resources to do so. If you have the time and inclination to do so, why not leave? Isn't it?
Yeah.
The modern world tells us you should never leave. It's a bad thing to leave the world. Didn't Sri Rupa Goswami leave at a certain point of time? Didn't Sri Sanatana Goswami leave at a certain point of time? Aren't we all supposed to leave at a certain point of time? And therefore, it's very important that when you're fully convinced about it and you're fully having complete faith in the process of bhakti, in the bhakti shastras, your adhikar is there. If you don't have any faith remaining in the material world, you have an adhikar. You have the eligibility. Whenever you want, you can leave. If you still want to stay for some family obligations, if you want to stay in the world for some family obligations, like say husband and wife, they stay together because they have a broader family to take care of, because the family is depending on. Otherwise, the husband and wife, they can both, they can detach themselves and perform a life of bhajan. There's nothing preventing. them. I hope you are able to understand. Nothing preventing them, but proper eligibility is this, that you should not have any hopes or plans remaining in the material world, and you should have complete Shraddha on the process of bhakti and in the Bhakti Shastras. And you should clearly know the path of progress. And if that is there, then wonderful, you have the eligibility. Okay, and that eligibility was developed by Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, all, Srimati Madhavi Devi. She was living like a renunciant in Jagannath Puri. Where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying, she was also living like a renunciate in Jagannath Puri. So if natural detachment has come, then wonderful. Your purpose is full. You have attained that stage, which many people will struggle to attain. All that suffering was worth it because it finally led to detachment. So wonderful. We should welcome suffering with both hands because it teaches us something which enjoyment could have never ever taught us in a million lifetimes. What suffering can teach in one lifetime. So tell me, Prabhu, what is more beneficial for the living entity, enjoyment or suffering?
Yeah, I think you answered very nicely, and rather than you basically, I would say, touched upon the root of my question and took me to the different direction. So thank you so much, Babaji. You really cleared what was, because this is like and thank you so much for bringing this discussion, because this was like a very hot burning thing. So thank you so much, Babaji. Thank you for your answers. Thank you so much. And thank you, Param Karuna Prabhu, for giving the chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Probably I'm nobody to give any chance. I'm just trying to do some seva for Prabhuji. That's all. So one thing I will request the devotees who are posting the chat questions I'll give a chance to unmute and ask their question. If you really have difficulty in speaking, then we'll take up the chat questions. So let me ask Bhakti Praveena Mataji, do you still have a question, or you're welcome to go ask if your internet is better?
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, I hope that I don't drop out. Thank you so much. My pranams. So the one question I asked in the chat is regarding the papa of taking forbidden food. I have a query about possible gray area. One time I read in Krishna Katamrita Bindu about how a prostitute financed bhoga for the deity Shri Govindaji. So Shri Govindaji, Shri Krishna in deity form, appeared to a devotee who had experienced some problems of controlling his senses after eating this prasad. So after it was offered to Shri Govindaji, still this devotee lost some control. So then Shri Govindaji appeared to him and said, I can digest this, but you cannot, even though it's Mahaprasadam. And often we also hear about sadhus who only eat that prasad that they themselves offer to their own deity. So does it follow that if we ever honor prasadam that is possibly financed by materialists, we become guilty of not preventing sin? Because you taught us today that actually preventing sin should be the focus, even more than preventing the Namno Baladyasya Papa would hear. So and Shri Govindaji, he said that taking this prasadam heightens the risk of losing control over the mind and senses. So how should we go about this? Thank you.
Yeah, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a verse to this effect. Vishaira anna khaile malin hai man, malina mana haile nahe, Krishnera smaran. So I'll share the screen and I'll show the verse. This is Antyalila 6.278. Vishaira anna khaile malin hai man, malin mana haile nahe, Krishnera smaran. When one eats food offered by a materialistic man, one's mind becomes contaminated, and when the mind is contaminated, one is unable to think of Krishna properly. This is Antyalila 6.278. This is for a sadhu, this may happen. For a person who already has some scars of sense enjoyment, such eatables can also make them fall into sense enjoyment. So it's not a rule that everybody will fall into sense enjoyment simply by consuming such food. If a person doesn't have some scars of sense enjoyment, if the samskars are washed away, then the effect of eating such food is that they may not be able to think of Krishna for some time. For some time, not permanently. For some time, they may not be able to think of Krishna. And then for such devotees, it is they don't want to ever forget Shri Krishna at any particular point of time. So because they are distressed at the thought of forgetting Krishna, therefore they regulate their eating. That is the reason for regulating eating, because devotees, to control the senses should be something which one achieves easily. It should not take a lot of effort, because there is so much Shastra available to tell us with realization that sense enjoyment is actually putting directly your foot into future sources of misery. So still, if the body requires sense enjoyment, there are Vedic ways of legalized sense enjoyment which will not cause such a negative effect. Those should be taken instead of pap. So that is what you call sanctioned or allowed sense enjoyment according to the Vedas. So that can be taken, but it's not that every such food will cause the sadhu to fall into pap. No. Sometimes it causes them to lose means to lose remembrance of Krishna for some time, and they become distressed. Because of that, they may make up their own rules. I will eat here, I will not eat here. These are highly personalized rules, and every sadhu has to decide for themselves. So what one sadhu follows may not be applicable to what another sadhu follows. And we should make up a rule based on personal experience of what is favorable for us and what is not favorable for us, rather than making rules by seeing other people. So that is what I would recommend. I hope that answers your query.
Yes, thank you so much. And I especially appreciated the point from the Katha today that when Sri Bhagavan sends suffering, it's actually his greatest mercy. That went straight to the core of the heart. So thank you so much for revealing so many wonderful realizations today.
Yeah, suffering is actually a very big teacher for all individuals, because it is in suffering that one feels helpless. In enjoyment, one doesn't feel helpless. It is in suffering that one gets this overwhelming feeling of helplessness, that I am unable to do anything to prevent this negativity from coming towards me. And it is this feeling of helplessness that makes one realize that one is actually not a strong person in this world. One is actually a weak person in this world in front of suffering. And it is only a weak person who will take shelter of Bhagavan. And because only in positions of weakness, it is very natural for somebody to take shelter. But somebody who has faith in their own strength, they will not easily take shelter of Bhagavan. So only when existing conceptions of one's strength, one's capabilities are decimated by suffering, it is only at that particular point of time that one actually realizes, my goodness, actually, I must take shelter of Bhagavan at this particular point of time. And that is that's a big gift. That's a very big gift from Bhagavan. So whenever suffering comes to us, we should know that this is the time that I can really, this is the best time to utilize, this is the best opportunity to realize, because utilize this particular emotion. Because right now I'm suffering, I'm going through this excruciating feeling of pain. And in this particular situation, it is so easy to take shelter of Bhagavan. It is so easy to realize that it is some negativity of my past which has come back to me. Bhagavan, I am very sorry. Bhagavan, I am truly very sorry for what I have done in the past. I don't know what I have done in the past. I don't know, but whatever I have done, Bhagavan, I am truly very sorry for whatever I have done in the past. I must have hurt so many children. And today I don't even have the opportunity to say sorry to them face to face. I wish I could come face to face to them and I could personally go down at their feet and say sorry to each and every one of those living entities. But today, Bhagavan, I don't have that opportunity. Instead, I am helpless. I am suffering and I can't do anything to get rid of that suffering. This suffering is justified because I am sure I have committed so many negative activities in the past. Thank you, Bhagavan. Bhagavan, I am very grateful. Let this suffering remain for as long as you want. But I continuously take shelter of you and I remain favorable to you. Tattenu kampam susamikṣamano bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam ridvagvapurbhir vidadhan namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadai bhak. That Bhagavan, I accept. I very favorably accept this suffering. I was meant to get it. I was definitely meant to get it. This is my attitude, Bhagavan. Bhagavan, sometimes a father is angry on his child, and a father may lock the child in his home. And nowadays they don't do that. Previously, parents used to beat their children. So Bhagavan, if you want to beat me, you beat me, but don't throw me out of your home. So that is the devotee's attitude. It is okay, I'll tolerate that. I'll happily tolerate that. But don't throw me out of your tattenu kampam. It is your great mercy that even though you are beating me, you are keeping me within your home. I deserved much more for the wicked ways in which I have behaved in the past. I deserve much more. But you are mercifully allowing me within your home. So this is your great mercy. So that is the devotee's attitude. So I hope that clarifies.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you had another question, Mataji, I see on the chat, you can raise your hand and I'll come back to you. It's nice to have like audio-based personalized questions instead of me reading it in an impersonal way, and your questions are very thoughtful. So next we'll go to Esther, Mataji.
Wonderful, yeah.
Hare Krishna, thank you. I was writing my my question, but Prabhu said we can read it, so it is more personal. So I will just read it. My question is: should our sincerity go into trying always our best to correct our wrong behavior? Because it happens. Although sometimes I think I am above it, but then I go back to something really, really bad, and so I try in the same time to understand what you explained, that even good karma causes misery after. So the only way, according to what I remember from Bhagavatam, is to become attached to the Lord and somehow hope to get the experience of the Lord, where there is no suffering due to misery and happiness coming from the desire to enjoy this world. Is our prayer to the Lord to help us to maintain ourselves? This is the second question. Is our prayer to the Lord to help us to maintain ourselves and our dependence some kind of trade with our bhakti for help in this exchange? You know, we are like chanting and then we are praying, Krishna, help me, earn the money so I can maintain all the family members. Is it? Right. Yes, thank you.
So the first query is that should we constantly keep on improving ourselves? Yes, one should, a sincere sadhak, an honest sadhak, a transparent hearted sadhaka practitioner will constantly try to keep improving themselves, but the yardstick is not their own mind, the yardstick is Shastra. So we keep improving by keeping Shastra as the yardstick, that this is what Shastra expects me to be. So I will improve according to this yardstick of measurement of Shastra. So that is the yardstick should be Shastra. As long as the yardstick or the measuring is done according to Shastra, you can keep improving yourself as much as it is needed. Because sometimes what we do, we try to improve ourselves based on some thought, some speculation of ours. So that should not. The improvement is based on what Shastra specifies as improvement. So that is what the answer to the second question. We don't need to ask Bhagavan for these things. Bhagavan knows these things. It's a very like a loving relationship between a husband and wife. The wife doesn't have to like ask the husband, can you give me 1,000 euros every month? Like it's not, it's very awkward to ask like that. When you are in a loving relationship, you don't ask. You just, the other person understands and gives. Which Bhagavan has to give. Why do you need to ask? It's a loving relationship, Bhagavan will give. And there's no need of asking anything. Because when there's love, there's no formal asking of a salary, monthly salary from Bhagavan. Bhagavan will give. Because at least, he's giving so much to the non-devotees, and they're not asking him every day. So my asking him is actually, it's not worth it. So there's no need to ask. He'll give. So it is recommended to stop asking. He will give. And if he doesn't give and there is suffering, we also know how to handle suffering. So both things we are good at dealing with both things. Prosperity and suffering. We are good at dealing with both things. But there's no need to ask him, because that makes the relationship very formal, and we don't want a formal relationship of transactions with Bhagavan. So I hope that answers your query. Thank you, Mataji.
Are you good with that answer?
Yeah, yes, we said.
Okay. Great. We'll go to Radha Kund Mataji next.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danda Pranam Jai Shri Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I have a request, Prabhu. Is it okay if I request you to please keep me unmuted for some time until my question is finished? Because if I have a small follow-up, then because of muting, because my first question was also I had some follow-up and I was not given an opportunity to
do a
little bit of follow-up.
My request is to ask your questions in minimum amount of words. So that is all. Okay.
Yeah, Prabhu.
And just to be clear, I don't mute anyone forcibly, even as a
Yes, Prabhu, I understand. But earlier, Dāmodara Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, he was actually unmuted me, so I couldn't ask my follow-up, small follow-up.
Sure.
So that
please,
my question was not properly answered. Yeah.
Please go ahead and ask.
Prabhu, my question kind of related to Bhakti Pravina Mataji. Like, if somebody keeps on, little different. If somebody actually hurts us in the devotee community or puts us in trouble or misbehaves with us, we understand that it is our previous karmic reaction which is inflicting on us. And we remember the verse Sattenukampa Susamikshamana always. And as Kunti Devi also says, we invite difficulties and we have to invite difficulties. And you are now explaining nicely that, we have to tolerate, right? But if we keep on tolerating that and they keep on giving us the same kind of pain every time, and so that since that we are chanting now, we understand that it's our reaction coming on us, and also we understand that now we don't want to do any aparadha towards them. And is still we need to take continuously pay, this kind of hurtings from them, or is it okay to just pay obeisances to them and maintain some distance? So what would you suggest, Prabhu?
Well, I
just
cannot,
with respect.
I cannot suggest anything for your specific case, because I will deal with the situation differently. I have been in a situation where there are waves of suffering coming after one wave, after another wave, after another wave, I have dealt differently with the situation. My attitude is to welcome waves, wave after wave, wave after wave. My attitude is different, and your attitude may be different. So it depends. What makes you more favorable towards Bhagavan? If staying away from that person is what makes you more favorable towards Bhagavan, you can stay away from the person. If you are able to see waves after waves after waves of suffering as bringing you closer to Bhagavan, then you are welcome to accept waves after waves after waves of suffering. There is a way of dealing with suffering. There is a way of understanding suffering. So nothing is useless on this path. So, but if you are not able to see the connection of that suffering with Bhagavan so easily, then it will be recommended that you stay away from the source of that suffering. But if you are able to utilize that suffering in order to get closer to Bhagavan, then that's a wonderful thing. You can have waves after waves of suffering, and it will not have any negative effect on you. It depends on person to person, how they handle suffering, especially suffering which is prolonged and comes in multiple waves and doesn't seem to die away. There are many sufferings like that in this world, which are prolonged, which come in multiple waves and which don't seem to die away. So there are waves and waves of such suffering. And you can't do anything about sometimes. If you have an option to move away from the source of it, and if you feel that helps your remembrance of Krishna, very well. That is what works for you. And if you feel that the waves after waves of suffering are really good for your remembrance of Krishna, wonderful. Do what is favorable and don't avoid what is unfavorable. So I hope that answers your query.
Yes, Prabhu. I have another question, but I will wait for my turn. Thank you, Prabhu.
I was saying that in general, for devotees who are asking, yes, there's always nice to follow up or ask clarifying point. If you are in a quiet environment, please stay unmuted. If you are in a noisy environment, then you may go back to mute right after asking your question. But otherwise, stay unmuted, complete your thought or this little conversation with Prabhuji, and then you can go on mute. So that's what the general recommendation I would have, at least as long as I am moderating.
Yes, sure.
Next, we'll go. Anything, Prabhuji, you want to add there?
No. How many are remaining? It's 3 hours, 15 minutes now. So I don't know how many are remaining.
So we have one hand up and maybe some on the chat. I'll have to scan through it.
Sure. So let's ask the live question while you are scanning through the. Let's go to Jai Gauranga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for wonderful class. Prabhuji, I want which you have mentioned that one should have pessimistic point of view towards material life. And Srila Rupa Goswami also explained the concept of Falgu Vairagya, where he mentioned that if one gives the things related to Lord, like this world also, then it's considered as a Falgu Vairagya. So how do we understand this two?
You are confusing two things. Having negative attitude is one thing, and giving them up for quickly attaining moksha liberation is another thing. I never said that you have to give everything up. But if you are getting involved in some material objects of the world, you should know that they come with a price. And the price is suffering. And if we don't understand this, then time will teach us. Time is a very good teacher. And if we start running away from them because we want to quickly attain liberation and we don't bother, so even if we give up things which are related to Krishna's service because we think of them as suffering, that is Falgu Vairagya. Falgu Vairagya is different. Real understanding that all objects in the world are suffering is different. Falgu Vairagya is to run away from all the objects. And a proper understanding is to understand that the objects are painful. I don't want to run away from them. But whatever is favorable for Krishna's service, I will use that object specifically in Krishna's service. That's all. So that is not Phalgu Vairagya. To have an understanding that material world is full of suffering is not Phalgu Vairagya. So please don't have this understanding of Phalgu Vairagya.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. We have some questions on the chat, Prabhuji. I'll go to those.
Sure.
If you're okay with the
Sure.
time still.
Yeah, let's quickly go to those queries.
Okay, so Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji has a question. If this aversion or avoidance to happiness of this world extends to the avoidance or aversion to devotional services as well, as we are still in the, so it's more a question, does it extend to devotional service as well as still?
No, that becomes Phalgu Vairagya.
Right.
So because you are giving up things, Hari Sambandhi Vastunaha. You are giving up things which are related to Seva of Bhagavan, thinking of them to be miserable. Of course, anything in the material world is miserable, but if it is related to Seva of Bhagavan, the devotee does not see them as sources of misery, he sees them as an opportunity to serve Bhagavan. But the devotee does not personally get involved in that object and starts enjoying that object. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say there is a wonderful shiny car in front of us. If we start taking personal enjoyment in that car, sooner or later, it will turn into some sort of suffering. But if we utilize it only for the purpose of service of Bhagavan, and then after that we are personally detached from it, it will not lead to suffering. It will instead become Yukta Vairagya. So that is what it is.
Right. And I think there's a little nuance in her question to complete out her question. Because services involve other individuals like devotees of all levels or non-devotees. Aversion or less enthusiasm to especially preaching, book distribution, because it is not direct service to Lord, or in other ways also heard it is not a limb of bhakti. How to understand this properly as a sadhak who wants to please Lord or attain prema?
Limbs of bhakti cannot be mass legislated. So one has to, according to one's nature, one has to perform limbs of bhakti. So if yourself you like book distribution, that's very good. You can encourage others, but ultimately they will follow their specific nature within bhakti. You can't do anything to legislate anything to them. That's the answer.
All right. We have another one from Vidya Lalsa Mataji. Sometimes we see some traits in devotees which inspire us to associate with them, and sometimes we see the opposite, which in turn makes us want to keep a distance. My struggle is, I don't know if it is fault finding or discernment. So Prabhuji, my question is, how do we clearly distinguish between fault finding and discrimination? And how do we get rid of fault finding tendency?
What does the question have to do with today's class? It doesn't have anything to do with today's class as far as I know.
Yeah, that's, I'm just reading it out. So yeah, let's take it offline.
Yeah, let's take it in the group. Mataji can post the query in the group so that we remain on topic.
Yeah. And then there is a question from Divyangi Lalita Mataji. So the question is regarding this slide: to get rid of the tendency to commit papa on the strength of nama, or to get rid of the tendency to commit papa altogether. So I understand that it is aparadh to commit sins and think that the holy name will remove the reactions to our sinful actions. But in the above slide, it's talking about removing tendency to commit sinful actions. So I'm not able to understand why point number 1 is not desirable. It is not that we are praying to Harinam, depending on Harinam to remove our tendency to commit sinful actions. Could you please clarify?
No, the thing is, the cause is the tendency to commit pap. The effect is the tendency to commit pap even at the expense of Harinam. Remove the cause, you'll remove the effect. We want to remove the cause here. Treatment should be at the very root. We want to attack the root of the disease here. The root is the tendency to commit pap. And the wicked modification of that disease is the tendency to commit pap even at the expense of Harinam. So it is an effect of the original tendency. We want to remove the origin of that particular tendency so that we know we will become peaceful only after we truly attain peace, only after we remove the tendency to commit pap from our lives. And there is a verse to that effect in Bhagavad Gita. It's very nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter, which says, Yesham tu antagatam papam. It's a very important verse. For those whose papa is antagatam, has ended, the tendency to commit sinful activities has ended. Jananam punya karmanam. These people now have only pious tendencies remaining, no tendency to commit pap. Te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrata. They can engage in firm bhakti towards me, free from delusion, duality. The persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful reactions are completely eradicated. This is what Bhagavan is saying very clearly. So we want to remove this. They are freed from the dualities of delusion. They engage themselves in my service with determination. So we want to attain this stage. This stage is supported by Shastra, and ensuring this will ensure that we definitely don't commit pap on the strength of Harinam. So that is the answer to the query.
All right. Thank you, Prabhuji. Couple of more here. Bhaktin Sonam. This is a personal question. I'll still ask it. Please see if you want to answer it. Could you please share your personal experience of how you manage waves of miseries? If you're comfortable, if it will give strength to us and perhaps we can apply it too.
When you are going through miseries, especially when you go through a very big misery in life, it is very important to, at that particular point of time, not make yourself a victim. Because the tendency in the modern world is that we try to become a victim every time we go through some suffering. And the modern world encourages you. Oh yes, you are the victim. You were wronged. Somebody else is the cause. You are not the cause. This is how the modern world encourages you to see yourself as the victim at every point of time. Shastra, this is called Samiksha. Samiksha means immediate analysis. Tells us that somebody else is the cause of the suffering. Samiksha, deeper analysis, reveals somebody else is not the cause of the suffering. Some negative activity of mine is the ultimate cause of suffering. So the verse says, Tattenu kampam susamikshamanu. After samiksha, after deeper analysis, it is revealed that Bhunjana eva atma kritam vipakam. I am actually suffering something which I have done previously. So, waves after waves of suffering, they are actually reducing the papa, they are actually reducing the sinful reaction of what we have committed in the past. So, it is very good. It is very good that gradually our papa karma is being exhausted. And meanwhile, one can firmly meditate pratipaksha bhavanam on the opposite feeling. Why am I feeling suffering? Oh, I'm feeling suffering because somebody took away, somebody snatched this money from me today. Pratipaksha bhavanam, do the opposite feeling. I will never snatch anybody's money, Bhagavan. I will never snatch anybody's money. Pratipaksha bhavanam. In Yoga Sutra it is said, Pratipaksha bhavanam, opposite feeling of what you are suffering. See, meditate on the opposite feeling. Why are you suffering today? Why I am suffering today because somebody shouted upon me. Pratipaksha bhavanam. I will never shout on anybody, Bhagavan. I will never shout on anybody. I will never put anybody else into the same suffering that I am experiencing today. So, isn't it a good teacher? Of course, it is a good teacher. That's how you can deal with it in a very mature way. The worst way to deal with suffering is to make oneself a victim and paint oneself as a victim in front of the entire world to gain their sympathy. And it does nothing to relieve us, to relieve the original cause, which is our own tendency to commit negative activities. All right, let's move ahead.
Prabhuji, that brings us to the end. I don't see any more hands, and I am anything else in the chat. I'm sorry. Please forgive me if I missed any chat or anything. So please forgive me and Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu. So it's hard to keep watch on the chat and also pay attention to the class. So that's why if we miss anything, please forgive us. And Prabhuji is back. So Prabhuji, you want to close off the call?
Thank you so much, Parama Karuna Prabhu. It's very generous of you to take over. And thank you for letting me finish. So for everyone who's still here, I'll invite you to unmute. And you can unmute now and offer a big thank you to Hari Parshad Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chakalpataripascha kṛpā sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sriman Hari Parshad Prabhu Ji ki jai. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Bol.
Srila Prabhupada.